What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Omnisensei here, with part 2 of What If Naruto Was Trained by Uchiha Itachi during the time skip. If you are enjoying this series, please for me like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. With that guys, Omnisensei signing in. A lone figure walked calmly towards the large gates of the village hidden in leaves. He was wearing a long red short-sleeved coat with flame patterns at the gemline and high collars. At the back of the coat, there was a kanji for Toad Sage. Beneath the coat he wore black shinobi pants, short-sleeved black shirt, black shinobi boots and black fingerless gloves. He wore a metal plate as an armor on his chest. A sword was strapped on his back. His attire was complemented with a straw hat that hid his face. Izumo Kamizuki and Kotetsu Hagane, the two Eternal Gate guards, were having a rather boring day. There had been no visitor for the day. The people that had been entering the village were a few teams that were returning from their missions. They liked it when new people came into the village for touring or just visiting. Izumo, there is someone coming, Kotetsu said, looking at the lone figure heading towards the gates. Yeah, I can see him, Izumo replied. Who do you think it might be? I don't know. Haven't seen anyone wearing something like that before, Izumo replied with a shrug. The figure walked closer to the gates, making the two guards to stand up as they waited for him to arrive. He was walking at a rather slow pace, like he was in no hurry. Halt! Kotetsu said in a rather loud and commanding voice. State your business. Izumo commanded the other part of their normal sequence for when someone new enters the village. Returning, the figure replied simply, state your name. The figure lifted up his straw hat, revealing his face. He had spiky blonde hair, deep blue eyes. His hair framed both sides of his face. Naruto Namikaze, he said, placing back his hat. The two Chunin guards widened their eyes upon the mention of the name. Without the whisker marks, they would have said it was the Yondaime Hokage. Naruto looked exactly like the Yondaime. If someone was to say that he was the Yondaime, they would not have denied the claim. At the same time, they were happy that Naruto had returned to the village. It had been 3 long years since they last saw him. They had missed seeing him grinning like a fox and shouting something about being great and surpassing someone. Kotetsu was the first to get out of his stupor. Naruto, it's good to see you again, he said with a genuine smile. The village has never been the same without you. Hey Kotetsu, did I hear correctly? He said. Namikaze, Naruto right? Izumo asked after Naruto had walked away from the two. Huh? You were not listening. He did not say Uzumaki Naruto. He said Namikaze. Naruto. Is he related to the Yondaime Hokage? I don't know, but with the way he looks, I would not disagree if someone said he was the Yondaime's son. Naruto walked past the two Chunin guards. He was in no hurry to report to the Hokage that he had returned. He just wanted to see how the village was. He never cared for information on the events occurring within the village while he was training. As he walked around the streets of Konoha, several villagers were staring at him, trying to figure who he was. The whispers began to resonate around as he walked. Naruto looked around Konoha. It was still the same as it was when he left. Nothing had changed, the air was still the same. The villagers were still smiling and gossiping in groups like they always did when he was not walking around. Konoha was still the same lively place as it had been when he left. He could see that the village recovered well after the sand/sound invasion. It was his home. He loved Konoha despite its treatment towards him. The village was his home and nothing would change that. He was born here and he would be buried within the village. Naruto looked at the Hokage monument. It had been his favorite spot when he was younger. The place gave him a sense of peace, since when he was there no one would be staring at him with hateful glares. It was his comfort zone. Looking at the faces of the Hokages, Naruto could not help but smile slightly. The past 4 Kages had been great Hokages, both in power and mind. The Nidaime, Sandaime and Yondaime all died protecting the village. That was a mark of a Kage, laying your life for the sake of the village which you lead and have sworn to protect. Konoha has been truly blessed to have had such great leaders as the 5 at the Hokage monument. The Shodaime was hailed as the god of shinobi for his power. The man was powerful indeed, yet a peace-loving person. The Shodaime tried to unite the world during his time, but his attempts failed miserably. He tried making the villagers equals by capturing bijus and handing over to them. He had hopes that if each village had a biju it would stabilize things, and each villager would see other as equal. However, that never occurred as villagers saw each other as nothing but rivals. The Nidaime Hokage, Senju Tobirama. He was the brother to Senju Hashirama, the Shodaime Hokage. The Nidaime was a serious man and took no nonsense. He was the best manipulator of water element. He was the only person to be able to create water from air molecules. The Nidaime was a powerful man, but not as powerful as his brother. He died during the Second Shinobi World War, killed by the Gold and Silver Brothers of Kumo. The Sandaime Hokage, he was referred to as the Professor, being that he knew every jutsu in Konoha and was able to perform it at a higher level. He was trained by both Hashirama and Tobirama. The Sandaime was wise and a peace-loving man. He survived 2 wars and was the only Hokage to have served 2 terms. He died in the hands of his own student, Sakusanin Orochimaru. His death was noble as he died fighting for the village during the Sand/Sound invasion. The Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, probably the most famous out of all the Hokages despite being Hokage for a short period of time. Minato is known all over the elemental nations as Konoha's Yellow Flash. He made his name known during the Third Great Shinobi World War. He was the man responsible for Iwa's loss in the war, which is why even after a decade of his death, the village still hates him. Minato was a genius and a seal master. He was the best seal master that Konoha had ever seen. Sadly, despite achieving so much, he died while still being relatively young. His death was also noble as he died sealing the Kyuubi inside his own son. Sealing the Kyuubi inside of his own son was because the said Biju had gone on a rampage and began to destroy Konoha. No one could fight the almighty Kyuubi. Thus, the only way to defeat it was to seal it. Today, Konoha sees him as her greatest hero. Now, there is Senjutsu Tsunade, the Godaime Hokage. She also has fame and a name that carries weight, being that she is one of the 3 legendary shinobi. She is also renowned for the skills in medical ninjutsu, and is the best medical nin in all the elemental nations. She was doing a steady job as Hokage. Naruto could agree with that. Naruto looked around to see that he was generating a lot of unwanted attention. Villagers were just staring at him as he walked around. He could also sense that Ambus were watching him. The fact that they were just watching him meant that the gate guards had yet to inform anyone of his presence within the village. But it was just a matter of time before they did, and Tsunade would send her Ambu to come and fetch him. With a sigh, Naruto blurred out of sight, making everyone who was looking at him look at him to see where he had went. His way of disappearing was nothing flashy. He just disappeared like he was never there to begin with. When the villagers saw that they could no longer see him, they just shrugged and went back to what they were doing. Hokage Monument. Naruto looked at the peaceful image of Konohagaka no Sato. This peaceful village was a village that his mother and father died protecting. It is a village he had been protecting from the day he was born. Konoha had just yet to be aware of that fact. The Namikaze family have given everything for this village. His father died in the sealing of the Kyuubi. His mother had been a Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi since her younger days. Both were heroes. Konoha is what is today because of their sacrifice. Had they not made the sacrifice they made, Konoha would have burned down to the ground, since there would have been no one powerful enough to stop the Kyuubi. This peace, this sense of security that Konoha now has was because of his family. Even he, who was made a human sacrifice to contain the Kyuubi, had done just as much as his parents did. Had it not been for his mental stability, the Kyuubi would have broken out of the seal and finished what it started. But he held on despite being a social outcast. His mind remained stable, and he held the Kyuubi back in its cage. Konoha was safe because of his life. Uzumaki and Namikaze both have sacrificed more than anyone within the village. All Uzumaki to have lived within the village were Jinchurikis. They were made to bear the beast of hatred within them. Today, he being the last Uzumaki in Konoha and possibly the world, carries the Kyuubi within him following the path of his predecessors. Being Uzumaki, he also had Namikaze blood flowing in his body. His father, the only known Namikaze before him, had been the leader of the village and died being the leader of the village. With all the sacrifices and the pain and loneliness he has had to endure, it would be a shame to allow all that to be for nothing. By not stepping up as the protector of the village, he was born to be a protector of Konoha, guardian of the village, and he would take on that mantle proudly. It was his place to ensure that Konoha was safe and in peace as a Namikaze, Uzumaki and third Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Naruto let loose of a sigh as he sensed several chakra signatures coming his way. He figured Tsunade must have been alerted of his return to the village. Anbu would just try to assert their authority over him. He had no doubt they would try to take him to the Hokage's office by force, even if he said he wanted to see the village a bit more. With that in mind, Naruto disappeared from the Hokage's monument. Naruto looked at the tallest building in Konoha, the Hokage's tower. Cages of each village always stayed at the tallest tower within a village. It made it easy to target them. Not that anyone would be stupid enough to attack them, given that they are the strongest in the village they lead. Naruto entered the Hokage's tower, still wearing his straw hat. He just decided to walk as it had been long since he breathed the air inside the tower. Today was still the day of his return. In the next few days he would have seen everything inside the village. Naruto bumped into someone after passing by a corner. He had been engrossed with his thoughts that he did not sense anyone. The person who hit him fell back because Naruto had stood still like a wall, but his hat was knocked off his head. Naruto leaned down to pick it up before looking at the person who bumped into him. It was a light-skinned woman with long, shoulder-length untamed black hair. He had unique red eyes. By her dress and eyes, Naruto quickly recognized the woman as Team 8 Sensei, Yui Kurenai. Sorry about that, Naruto said, stretching out his arm to help her get up. Kurenai just stared at Naruto for a few moments. She would have screamed Yondaime-sama if it were for the fact that the Yondaime was a dead man. Naruto, Kurenai said in a whisper as she took Naruto's hand. His grip was firm as she took his hand. Naruto nodded slightly before placing his hat back to its rightful place. Kurenai continued to examine Naruto's appearance. He had grown wonderfully well since she last saw him. Naruto began to walk forward, passing the woman. Kurenai realized that she was staring when Naruto walked past her. She turned around to see him before disappear past a corner. A thought came into her mind as she realized that Naruto had been missing from the village for 3 years now. Hinata will be so happy when she finds out about this. Kurenai thought, knowing about the Hyuga heir's infatuation with Naruto, although it does seem like she will have some competition. Another thought crept into her mind. Kurenai shrugged off her thoughts before she could think of how handsome he looked. She turned around and walked away. Naruto walked past the receptionist without saying a word to the woman. Tsunade was expecting him, thus there was no need to check in with her if he could enter the office. Unfortunately, the young lady did not have the same thoughts with him. "Hey, you can't just walk in there," she yelled out. "The Godame is expecting me," Naruto replied without turning back to look at the young lady. "I don't know that. Before you go inside the Hokage's office, you must check with me if she's free or not." This time the receptionist was now standing up. Naruto continued to walk away from the woman. She was rather loud. He had enough of loud females. Sakura was already enough. He did not another one. Hokage's office. Naruto knocked into the office of the Godame Hokage. He stood patiently waiting for an answer. "Enter," a voice responded behind the door. Naruto entered the office and stood still. There were 3 people inside the office. He took off his straw hat, allowing the people to see his face. Jiraiya, Tsunade and Shizune could only stare at the figure in front of them with wide eyes. Naruto had really grown, and his body was built well. All that baby fat on his face was gone, and the deep blue eyes and shoulder-length spiky blonde hair made him look like the Yondaime Hokage. Clothes he wore were not something they had expected him to be wearing. All 3 were expecting to see orange, but there was none of it. What was standing in front of them was a true shinobi. They had been expecting him after the gate guards alerted them of his presence within the village. Tsunade had immediately instructed an ambush squad to go look for him. Naruto eyed Jiraiya. He had expected the man to be in Konoha, given that he was due to return today. Jiraiya would be eager to see him after he had abandoned the Sannin. "I have returned from my training trip, Tsunade-sama," Naruto stated, looking straight at Tsunade. That was a shocker. His words had not mock respect, no sarcasm. They were just respectful, and his tone was down and calm. Naruto had never addressed Tsunade as Tsunade-sama. It was always Bar-chan or old hag. The room was met with silence before Tsunade exploded, shrugging off the fact that Naruto had addressed her name with Dash-sama. She rose up from her chair behind her desk and slammed both her hands to her desk, giving it cracks. Her reaction caused the other 2 in the room to tense. "What were you thinking running away from Jiraiya? Did you forget that the Akatsuki were after you? What if something might have happened to you after your little stunt? That was a stupid thing for you to do, Naruto," Tsunade ranted out, anger clear in her voice. "Do you know what you put me through after Jiraiya told me that you had abandoned him? Do you know many drinks I drank after I learned of your stunt not? That she regretted the drinks she had. I was very worried about you and your safety." She was not coming down as she continued to yell at the blonde. Naruto, however, remained as he was, as if her anger was nothing to him. He did not tense or flinch at the tone of her voice or anger. He just continued looking straight at her. "I am going to make you pay for making me worry about you," Tsunade yelled as she shot towards Naruto like a bullet. She appeared in front of him with a chakra-enhanced fist speeding towards his face. Both Jiraiya and Shizune tensed, knowing that it was not going to end pretty for Naruto. No one dodged Tsunade's punches. Well, not because they could not, but because she was the Hokage and dodging them would only infuriate her further. An infuriated Tsunade was not someone you wanted to deal with. When Tsunade's fist was just an inch away from Naruto's face, he sidestepped at a rather fast speed. He had his left hand stretched out. It was placed of Tsunade's large bust. Naruto had avoided trying to block the attack, knowing how powerful Tsunade's punches were. His hand on Tsunade's bust was for support, so that the woman did not hit the ground to her momentum. Shizune and Jiraiya were shocked to see Naruto dodge Tsunade's punch. One who was shocked more was Tsunade. At the speed she appeared in front of him, she was not expecting him to dodge. Also, Naruto had never tried to dodge her punches. Jiraiya then noticed where Naruto's hand was placed. He grinned perversely. "Lucky brat, I have never gone that far," Jiraiya muttered under his breath. Everybody heard his words. Jiraiya's words snapped Tsunade out of her thoughts. She realized that Naruto's hand was on her bust. It was supporting her so she could not fall. thus she could feel it well on her bust. She looked at Naruto, who had a slightly amused expression on his face. Tsunade had the decency to blush as she realized the situation she was in. She quickly got her bearings and walked away from Naruto without another word. She went back to sit on her chair behind her desk. She opened a drawer and took out a bottle of sake before downing it. Naruto raised a brow when he felt a pair of eyes staring at him. He looked to see Shizune staring at him as if she was lost in her own world of imaginations. Shizune realized she was caught staring and looked down, whether from embarrassment at being caught staring or she was just hiding something. Nobody could really tell why. "Hello Naruto-kun," she managed to say, her eyes going back to Naruto. "Shizune, how have been over the past 3 years?" Naruto said. "Well, just a lot of stressing work. I have no complaints," Naruto replied, his tone calm and reserved. Tsunade cleared her throat to get everyone's attention. She eyed Naruto carefully. He had definitely changed. He was no longer the Naruto she knew. This Naruto was totally different from the Naruto she knew. Putting it accurately, she could say she was the opposite of the Naruto she knew. "Naruto, it's not that I'm not happy to see, but you have some explaining to do," Tsunade stated in a serious tone. Jiraiya nodded, agreeing with Tsunade. Naruto had a lot of explaining to do. They all looked at Naruto waiting for him to speak. "Explain what exactly, Tsunade-sama?" Naruto asked. "Why you ran away from Jiraiya? What were you even thinking when you did?" Tsunade asked with a fierce glare that would make anyone flinch. Naruto looked at Jiraiya for a moment before looking back at Tsunade. "I did not run away. I simply left him to clear my head and get some training," Naruto replied calmly. "What do you mean you left him to clear your head and get some training?" Tsunade asked, glaring at Naruto. The reason she had allowed Jiraiya to take Naruto out of the village for the training trip was because she wanted him to clear his mind and get trained by Jiraiya. "With all due respect, but I thought my words were simple enough for you to understand," Naruto said, seeing as there was no reason to explain his statement. Naruto Tsunade barked, intensifying her glare. She leaked some of her killing intent. Shizune had to step away from her master when she started leaking the killing intent. "Tell me why you ran away from Jiraiya now," Tsunade stated in a tone of authority, showing Naruto that she was the Hokage. Naruto shrugged off Tsunade's killing intent. He could handle worse than the blonde Hokage was giving off. "As I said, I left Jiraiya because I wanted to get some training done and become strong." Before Tsunade could respond, Jiraiya spoke. "Did you have to leave me? I could have trained you to become strong. I am a Sannin after all," he said with narrowed eyes. Tsunade chose not to say anything. She wanted Naruto to respond to Jiraiya's question. "Yes," Naruto replied. "You might be a Sannin, but you could have never given me the training I required. To you, I would have been third to everything you could do. The first had to be your research, the second had to be your spy network. Am I correct, Jiraiya?" Jiraiya was surprised that Naruto did not call him Iro Sennin. It has always been what Naruto called him ever since their meeting at the hot springs. Naruto had also called him without the respect suffix. Getting over his surprise, Naruto's words began to sink in his head. Tsunade narrowed her eyes at Jiraiya, who shifted nervously upon seeing the look she was giving him. "Respond to his words, Jiraiya," she barked at the Sannin. No, Haim, you know I would have trained him. I was the one who asked to take him on the training trip after all." Jiraiya defended himself. "Jiraiya, you were going to correct some flaws in my Taijutsu, help me with chakra control, and teach me how to control the Kyuubi's chakra for all 3 years. Correct me if I'm wrong," Naruto stated, giving Jiraiya an impassive look. Tsunade glared at Jiraiya. "Well," Jiraiya scratched the back of his head, smiling nervously. You see if he was being honest. That was all he had planned on teaching Naruto, added with a few variations of the Rasengan. "Jiraiya, I cannot believe that you were going to waste all 3 years teaching him only those things. You damn pervert, I trusted you with him to make him strong," Tsunade yelled, throwing a stack of papers at Jiraiya. "Tsunade-sama, you shouldn't." Whatever Shizune was going to say, she could not finish as Tsunade sent her a glare to shut her up. "Your reasons might have been justifiable, but you should not have ran away from Jiraiya. Did you ever pause to think what your friends, what I would think if something was to happen to you because of your foolish decision?" Tsunade asked, not happy with Naruto's choice. She would deal with Jiraiya later, but Naruto needed to know the consequences of his actions. "No," Naruto replied. It was the truth. He did not think of anyone when he made the choice to abandon Jiraiya. He was only thinking about himself, not anyone else. All three just stared at Naruto. That was something neither had ever thought they would hear from Naruto. Naruto had always put everyone ahead of him when he made his choices. It was safe to say that the blonde lived for other people, discarding his own needs. "You are telling me that you just ran away from Jiraiya without thinking of how those who care for you would feel?" Tsunade yelled, losing her calm look. "Yes," Naruto replied. "For the first time I placed myself ahead and did what was best for me. Was that so wrong to do?" Tsunade was taken aback by his question. She had never expected him to say something like that. "No," she replied, losing her anger. "But that does not excuse you for running away from Jiraiya. Naruto said nothing. Where did you even go after you left Jiraiya? What did you even do? Tsunade asked. I'm afraid I cannot answer that question, Tsunade-sama, Naruto stated. Naruto Jiraiya said, his face taking a rare serious expression on his face. You are going to tell us where you have been for past 3 years. That is not a request. Naruto shook his head, order or not. I cannot answer your question. Tsunade slammed her fists on her desk, cracking it. Another hit and it was going to break. Listen here, brat. You are going to tell me where you have been over the past 3 years. I might have let you off the hook in the past, but this is serious. You will tell me what I want to know or I will make you. Do you understand me? Tsunade yelled with a hardened glare at Naruto. She increased her killing intent to a new high to show the blonde that she was dead serious. The temperature became tense in the office because of Tsunade's killing intent. The killing intent was enough to make Jiraiya sweat bullets and Shizune find it difficult to breathe. To the surprise of Tsunade, Naruto was unaffected by her killing intent. He did not even flinch or tense. He simply just shrugged it off like it was nothing. All you need to know is that I was at a safe place, and I trained to the level I wanted. Naruto replied, his tone unwavering. Tsunade stared at Naruto for a minute before she sighed and stopped leaking her killing intent. Naruto was not going to answer her question no matter what she did. The look on his face told her that much. Fine, she said in a defeated tone. At least give me a report on what you trained in. Naruto unsheathed his sword, showing it the occupants in the room, their eyes widened recognizing the blade. Rajian no Ken slashed the sword of the Thunder God. Jiraiya muttered looking at the sword. Naruto placed the sword back to its sheath. Where did you get it? Tsunade asked, knowing that the sword had been missing from Konoha. From Aoi Rokushu, Naruto replied. It was the half-truth since he was not who took the sword from Aoi. He could not tell them that it was Itachi who gave it to him. I trained in Kenjutsu and other shinobi arts, Naruto stated. Now, I believe that is all now. If you need anything from me, I will be at my father's house. I was nice seeing you again, Tsunade-sama, Shizune, Naruto stated with a small smile before he disappeared in bright yellow flash. Jiraiya, did he just say my father's house? Tsunade asked, staring at the spot Naruto had been standing. Yes, he did, Haim, Jiraiya replied with a dumb expression on his face. Haim, did he just disappear in a yellow flash? He asked. Yes, he did, Jiraiya, Tsunade replied with a dumb look on her face. Shizune just watched the two converse in a comical fashion. The expressions of their face were priceless. Had it not been for the implications of the revelations, she would have been rolling on the floor killing herself in laughter. A few seconds later, the house of the Yondaime Hokage, not what Naruto had expected from the house of the most famous Hokage to have ever existed in the village hidden in leaves. He had expected to see a large house worthy and fitting for Konoha's yellow flash, the man who brought the arrogant Iwagaka to her knees. He was expecting to see something exquisite, but what he found was just a normal house. The house was perfect for a normal family. No one would really guess that the Hokage of Konohagaka lived within the house. Naruto had smiled upon taking a look at the house he had inherited from his parents. It was just a symbol of how humble and simple his parents were. Many who could have been in his father's shoes would have opted for something big and standing out of all the houses in Konoha, but not his parents. Some would have even lived in house big as the Hokage's tower, just so people could see that they stood out of everyone in the village. But again, not his parents. Perhaps his parents had made a small home so not to attract too much attention from people. Perhaps that was the case. However, thinking of that, they would not worry about anything, since they had Anbu to protect them 24/7. No one would have really attempted to take on the strongest man in Konoha. Regardless of their reasons, the house was perfect for him. Sighing, Naruto disappeared in a yellow flash after having located a Hiraishin seal within the house. He appeared in a room that had a large bed, a really large bed. It was definitely his parents' bedroom. There was no doubt that it was the main bedroom. By just looking at the setting of the room, Naruto deduced that much. The room was still in perfect condition. Perhaps the Sandaime had some trusted people to look after the house while he was still alive. That would explain why the room was in good condition. He could take a nap without having to worry about insects jumping on him and taking a bite. That was just how the room was. Perhaps it was the seals that banished anything that might have attempted to eat the house inside out. Anything by now was just assumptions. Not that it mattered anyway. The house was his. There was no one who would dispute that. A clip invaded Naruto's head. It was him in his younger days. He saw himself busting inside the room, catching his father doing something to his mother. And then he screamed to San. What are you doing to Ka-chan? Both his parents just flushed red in embarrassment before hiding under their blankets. It would be been a funny memory had it been real. It would also be amusing to see how his father would try to explain what he had just seen. Minato Namikaze would definitely be unable to explain himself. Naruto shook his head, deleting the clip. Amusing as it was, having those thoughts was not going to do him any good. Naruto sat on the bed and shifted his eyes around the room. him. He smiled sadly seeing the portraits that were hung on the wall within the room. The portraits were truly beautiful. He would not mind gazing on them for a full day. His parents seemed to be truly happy together. They seemed perfect for each other. There was no doubt about that within his head. Naruto's eyes trained on the one that his mother was still pregnant with him. The smiles on both their faces made him shed a tear. He could only guess how happy they must have been knowing that they were expecting their first child. By just looking at the portrait, he could only say really happy. They must have waited patiently for his birth, so that they could see their first product, their joy. A pity they never got the chance to live with him after his birth. They never got to hear his first words or hear him call them Ka-chan and Tu-san. Death had taken them away from their beloved the day he was born. The world had a funny way of operating. Naruto took his time exploring the house further. He looked at each room that was in the house without missing any. He did not send clones to do it for him. He wanted to do it himself. He wanted to see it with his own eyes, even though the clones' experiences would be brought back to him. The better choice was to do it himself. The house was perfect for him. He could not explain why, but it just was. He felt home, free. Perhaps it was because it was his parents' house, and he had lived inside the house while he was still inside his mother's womb. The house had 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, sitting room, library and a basement. The basement was used as a storeroom for storing weapons amongst other things. The library was full of scrolls, and also functioned as his father's home office, judging from the chair and desk just beside the window away from the shelves. Naruto had sat down behind the desk and made himself comfortable. The chair felt like it was made just for him, like it was made with him in mind. He looked around the library and marveled at the sheer number of scrolls and books. He doubted he would ever go through all of them anytime soon. He even wondered if his parents had even read everything in the library. Perhaps they had stored their knowledge and other people's knowledge for him. He would certainly save some scrolls for his own children, especially since he was planning to write his own book. He wanted to write his own book in Fuinjutsu, perhaps another about his life. Fuinjutsu would come first though. He was a master in the art. It was his duty to share the knowledge he had with those who sought for it. Also, teaching Fuinjutsu was his duty. The Uzumaki clan was known for being masters in the art of sealing. Right now, it was his duty to continue with that tradition. He was already a seal master. Not that he bragged about it. It was just the truth. A room that had made him shed a few tears was the room with a crib inside. Without any doubt, it was the room that was built for him. The crib was made for him. It was the room at which he was supposed to have had nightmares in. He was supposed to let loose of unwanted water inside his body while he was sleeping peacefully inside the crib. A pity he never got the chance to rest on it. Instead, he had a cold and lonely bed at the orphanage. He would have wished just for once to enjoy the comfort of the bed his parents had prepared for him. They had made it, but never got the chance to watch him fall asleep inside the little bed they had made. If he could fit inside the crib, Naruto would have jumped inside and taken a nap. But he was not. He could only enjoy the comfort with his own hands and thoughts. One thing was certain though, he was going to leave the room as it was. Nothing would be changed from the room. Perhaps his own children will enjoy the comfort he never got the chance to enjoy. What was to be done in the room was cleaning. Speaking of cleaning, Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu he breathed out, and 20 identical copies of himself popped up into existence. Naruto gave them the orders to clean the house. His clones could do the trivial stuff for him. Naruto himself decided to go to the library/study. He wanted to do everything in the library by himself. Complex Fuinjutsu. Naruto looked at the words and nodded to himself. He had fixed and put everything in place within the library. It had taken him a few hours to do so, but he never complained. In fact, he enjoyed doing the work. In a few hours day will be making way for night. Naruto had decided to use this few hours before night to begin some writing. He wanted to get some writing done. The clones he had made were still busy doing their chores. They had managed to stay long, thanks to the chakra he had given them. One had been sent to buy some groceries, since the house had no food, given that no one had been taking refuge in it. The clone he had sent was hinged as he did not want to come across any of his friends. He would see them tomorrow. Today he had to make himself comfortable before announcing his return to his friends. Without any more thoughts, Naruto began to write his book for Fuinjutsu masters. He, being a master, thought it'd be best to write about some complex seals. He doubted that there was anyone in Konoha who would better him in the art of sealing. Perhaps his talent came from the fact that he had Uzumaki genes running through his body. It was natural for any Uzumaki to be a master in Fuinjutsu, so there was no surprise there. Also, his father had been a genius in seals. Perhaps some of that talent was transferred to him. Either way, he was a fine seal master, and was not afraid to say it loud. The first seal he explained in detail was the Haki no Fuinshiki, the seal that his father used to seal the Kyuubi within him. Naruto had taken much time to study the seal in detail. He understands everything about it, even the minor details. When he studied the seal by examining the one on his stomach, he found out that Minato had created a key to unlock the seal. The key could either remove the seal or open the gate to the Kyuubi's cage. Naruto understood that his father had intended for him to use the Kyuubi's chakra. After having completed the detailed description of the 8 trigram sealing style, Naruto began to make notes for another book. This one he called The Journey of a Hero. He just made a few notes only. He would continue to gather material as he continues to write complex Fuinjutsu. If someone had said he would be interested in literature in his genin days, he would not have even laughed. He hated reading or writing those days. Even his handwriting was horrible. At least these days it had improved because he was constantly writing something. Naruto sighed annoyingly. "How long are you going to watch me?" he said seemingly to no one. Jiraiya stepped out of the corner of the study with a sheepish grin. "You have improved your sensing abilities," he said. "In your genin days you would have remained oblivious to my presence until I got tired of hiding," he said with an awkward chuckle. It was not every day that someone caught him while he was hiding. Naruto deserved praise for having noticed his presence. "Those years I was an idiot trying to play shinobi. All I had was just large amounts of chakra and a mountain-tall Bidru sealed within me," Naruto said, leaning back to his chair. He stared at Jiraiya with a blank expression, making the Sannin swallow whatever that he was chewing. "Don't say that. I gave you some skills when I trained you." Naruto shook his head, making Jiraiya look at him questionably. "You cannot give anyone skills, Jiraiya. A skill is not something you can just hand over. Some people are born with skills, while some attain skills through sheer dedication to training." He paused for a moment. "You as a teacher help recognize the skills and improve those skills." Jiraiya made to note that Naruto was not the same idiot as he was. He sounded smart. "In my case, you helped me improve what I had, so that I could survive the Chunin exams. Truthfully, had it not been for you, I would have flopped." Jiraiya beamed at Naruto's words. He wanted to add that he had improved Naruto's skills and made him perform well at the Chunin exams, because he was the greatest sensei of all time. But Naruto's next words had him kissing the floor. "Regardless of how grateful I am for your help, I cannot regard you as a good teacher, given the fact that you pushed me inside a deep hole, just to see if I could use the Kyuubi's power. If the Kyuubi was suicidal, I would have died or ended up with a broken body," Naruto said with a straight face, eyes still looking at Jiraiya. "You hurt me with your words, Naruto," Jiraiya said rather childishly. "But you have to agree my method did give good results. You ended up summoning Gamabunta with the Kyuubi's power," the Sannin pointed out. "Despite his method being risky, it gave satisfactory results." "Yes, it did," Naruto conceded. Silence took its part in the room. Naruto was still staring at Jiraiya with an unreadable expression on his face. The look on Naruto's face was really making the Sannin nervous. The old Naruto would have been just looking at him with a goofy smile and wide eyes. Finally, Jiraiya spoke. "You know, seeing you like that working behind the desk reminds me too much of your father. He used to love this study," Jiraiya stated, changing the subject. "Naruto's parents. That was his reason for coming here." Naruto knew who his parents were. He never told the blonde, but it was his task to do so. He had not planned to tell Naruto about his parentage before the whole Akatsuki mess was over. But now, Naruto knew. That is where things were complicated. Naruto's face took a thoughtful expression. "I forgot that father was your prized student. Moreover, you saw him as your own son, am I correct?" "Yeah," Jiraiya replied with a proud smile. "Minato was the son I never had. The brat was a genius. A pity I was nothing like him." The words worked like magic. The mood in the study became tense. Jiraiya looked away from Naruto, not wanting to meet his gaze. Sighing, Jiraiya looked back at Naruto. He was cut off by Naruto. "Jiraiya, I just came back from a 3-year training trip. The training was harsh to both my mind and body. Today is the first time I stepped inside my parents' house, a house that I was supposed to grow up in. Jiraiya, I saw the crib that my parents had prepared for me. You and the Sandaime made sure I never saw this house or sleep in the bed that was made for me." Jiraiya looked down in shame at hearing those words. It must have been draining emotionally for Naruto to see a house he was supposed to grow up in. But instead he had been left to live in the orphanage, while he had inherited a house from his parents. "I simply do not care for your reasons in keeping the truth from me, Jiraiya. As it stands, it matters not because the damage has already been done. I know you may be sorry for not looking after me while I was taking crap from the villagers. I mean, it is the responsibility of a godfather to take of their godson, right?" Jiraiya could only nod. "Let's face the facts, you only came back to the village and offered to train me because of the threat of Akatsuki. Had it not been for them, you would have never shown yourself before me. Regardless of that, I do not hate you, Jiraiya, but make no mistake, I am very much angry with you." Naruto paused for a moment, letting the words sink into Jiraiya's head. "Now, if you can leave me alone to enjoy this free time I have, it would be highly appreciated." Jiraiya slumped his shoulders. He had expected worse. At least Naruto did not hate him for keeping the truth from him, and not being there for him in his younger days. Fine, I will go, but meet me at Haim's office tomorrow at 8 AM. We have a lot to discuss. Naruto figured they wanted to know more about his training and who he was with. He had basically not told them anything about his training trip. Knowing Tsunade, she would not be satisfied until she got some answers. He was not going to give any he did not want though. There was also the matter of his parentage. Since he now knew, it would change things completely. Jiraiya turned around to leave only to be stopped by Naruto's voice, and oh Jiraiya, always remember this. There will be severe punishment for your choices. So Godfather, when you walk around know that I will be watching, waiting for the perfect chance to strike. 3 hours before 8 AM the time he was supposed to meet Tsunade, and Jiraiya Naruto was already awake. He had slept comfortably on his parents' bed. Yes, he had decided to use his parents' room as his. The house was his now, there was no use in preserving the room for another use. He could as well enjoy the comfort of the bed that his parents used. Ultimately sleeping in the bed had resulted in a sound sleep, but he had set up an alarm to wake up early, so he could begin to work on other things. Yesterday his clones had finished cleaning the house. Luckily, only a few of the furnitures would need to be replaced to suit his liking. Overall, the house was cleaned and looked like it had been giving refuge to someone for quite some time. His clones had not rushed while cleaning. They did it slowly and ensured that no dirt was left behind. Today he would have them clean outside the house. The garden was a mess. It appeared that whoever was taking care of the house when the Sandaime was still alive did not bother to look after it. Naruto had always liked flowers. He had planned to go buy some after meeting with Tsunade. But first thing first, Tejurikage Bunshin no Jutsu. A cloud of smoke gave birth to 10 clones of Naruto. Naruto waved them to get onto their duties. They already knew what they were tasked to do. Without a complaint, the clones first went to the basement to get the required tools to service the garden. Naruto went to the kitchen. He began to boil some water. He waited calmly at the kitchen for the water to boil. After it had finally boiled, Naruto made himself a cup of black tea. Even though he did not enjoy tea as much as Itachi did, it was still refreshing in the morning. Perhaps in the morning was the only time he would say he enjoyed drinking tea. Speaking of Itachi, he was already missing the man's stoic presence. The intelligent conversations they used to have and the often training they used to do, he was missing all that. Funny thing was that it had been just 4 days since he left the Uchiha clan hideout. Now was the second day since he returned to Konoha. Naruto took his cup of tea to the study. He placed the cup on the desk and went on to take a scroll from the shelves. He went back to his desk and sat behind it on a chair and began to read the scroll while sipping his tea. His mother was also familiar with seals. Her seals were unique only to Uzumaki clan members. When she came into Konoha from Yuzashiogaku, she came with so many scrolls from her mother and had certain knowledge of seals. His father was able to benefit from her scrolls. Perhaps if it were not for his mother, his father would never have become renowned for his mastery in Fuinjutsu. The Uzumaki clan was indeed ingenious and creative with their work. Naruto could only wonder what the clan would have been able to do with seals, had great villagers not annihilated them for their creativity. Well, there was always a price for power. A pity that the Uzumaki paid a hefty price while they were a peaceful nation secluded in their own little island. They distanced themselves from fighting when necessary. Naruto picked up his cup and peeked inside it. There was nothing left. He had drank all the tea without even realizing it, and he kept saying he was not the one who enjoyed tea. Sighing, Naruto placed the cup on the desk and continued reading the scroll. It had details about seals that were used to seal bijous. Interesting part was that his clan had been the first clan to develop a seal that could hold a biju and imprison it inside a human. Perhaps his clan had inherited something from the Sage of Six Paths. Despite the hypothesis not being confirmed by either clan, Senju and Uzumaki were relatives. Whoever was Uzumaki had Senju heritage in them. That meant that Uzumaki were also related to the Sage Six Paths. Senju and Uchiha inherited power, while Uzumaki inherited his mind and life force. That sounded just about right. An hour left before he could meet Tsunade. Naruto took the scroll and returned it to the shelf. He slowly went back to his desk and opened a drawer. He took out the papers he had written yesterday on his book Complex Fuinjutsu. He wanted to ensure that he had explained everything clearly without a mistake. Although he doubted he made any mistake, it did not kill him to check. After rereading everything, Naruto was satisfied. He stood up and stretched his muscles before looking at the time. More than 40 minutes left before he had to leave. He smiled as a thought came into his mind. Naruto walked out of the study and went straight to his room. His sword was perfectly placed near his bed. He had yet to find a perfect place for it. The basement did not seem like a place his sword would appreciate to be kept. Keeping it close to him had been the choice he had taken. He picked up the sword inside its sheath before wrapping the sheath on his back. He walked onto a clearing. No, a training ground at the back of the house. He liked the house because it had everything he would need. He did not have to go anywhere to get some training done. It was good for his body to keep it conditioned at the highest level. He did not want his skills to become dull. That can happen if he misses a few days of training. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto created a clone. The clone stood in front of him with its own copy of the Sword of the Thunder God. Without another word, both Narutos disappeared in blurs and engaged in a fierce Taijutsu battle. The clone rushed at Naruto. Upon reaching the original, the clone brought out its right hand and went for an uppercut. Naruto was more than ready for the challenge. He blocked the incoming punch with his left hand. He held out his right hand, creating a Rasengan. The clone immediately leaped away from Naruto, so to avoid being hit by the A-rank jutsu. Naruto did not want to use the jutsu, simply he just wanted the clone to make some distance with him. He knew that with its punch block the clone would attempt something else. Naruto disappeared in a blur towards his clone. He appeared in front of with his foot raised, and attempted to kick the clone at its temple. Unfortunately, the clone had good reflexes just as he did. It brought out both its hands to block the powerful kick. Naruto's kick was unable to penetrate or break the guard. The clone moved shiftily to kick him on his waist level with its right foot. Naruto saw the attack coming and countered with his own foot. The two legs collided in midair, but not for long, as both of them were retrieved, making way for the legs which had been used for balance. But the result was the same. Naruto jumped back away from his clone. The clone did not give him a chance to breath. It attacked him again, and they engaged in a Taijutsu battle across the training ground. The battle took several minutes before both parties finally separated. Naruto unsheathed his blade and stuck his finger on a small hole on the blade's handle. He spun the blade in front of him like a fan before retrieving his finger and flicked the sword. He caught it and held it in front of him. Just as he was about to charge at his clone, an alarm rang. Naruto sighed and sheathed his blade. He looked at his clone. "Dispel yourself," he said, walking away from the training ground. Before going into the house, he went to check how the clones were doing at the garden. He smiled when he arrived. They were doing well. All the unwanted weeds had been uprooted and dead flowers also. They were also preparing the soil for plantation. He smiled. Definitely, after meeting with Tsunade he would go and buy some flowers. Nodding to himself, Naruto walked inside his house and went straight to his room. He did not do anything other than taking a warm, refreshing bath. After the bath, nothing else was done. He just changed into new clothes. He took out some clothes he had bought on his way back to the village. He wore a long-sleeved white shirt and dark blue pants, along with blue shinobi sandals. Hokage's office. Tsunade sat leaning against her chair with Jiraiya sitting on the window of her office. Naruto. He was dominating her every thought. The fact that he knew his parentage changed a lot of things. Added to that, he was living inside of his parents' house. The council would have to be informed of this, or they would start yapping to her about this and that. She definitely had no time to listen to whatever they would want to say about Naruto. The house was his, it was his inheritance. The council had been keeping away Naruto's inheritance and parentage. The fact that he found out about it and went to claim it without even speaking to them will cause them to stir. Tsunade glanced at Jiraiya. Ever since he entered the office, he had been oddly quiet. Jiraiya was never the one to be quiet, no matter what the situation was. Serious. Yes, he could be serious if the situation called for it. "Do you think he hates us?" she asked her former teammate quietly. Jiraiya shook his head. "No, I spoke to him yesterday about it when I went to inform him of this meeting." "What did he say to you?" "He did not care for my reasons, and that he was angry with me. He also said he did not hate me." Jiraiya did not tell Tsunade of Naruto's last words to him. Truthfully, he was dreading what sort of punishment the blonde was planning for him. "And me. He did not say anything about you. He only spoke of me and Sensei. I don't think he blames you for anything." Tsunade sighed in relief. "Well, that is good to know," she said. "But still, even I knew of his parentage, but did not bother to say anything to him. In fact, I was not planning to tell him anything until he became strong enough to protect himself." "Don't feel bad about anything, Haim," Jiraiya said in a consoling voice. "Sensei and I were the ones who messed up things. I can't say Sensei alone is to blame, but I, who was Naruto's godfather, should have at least been there for him." Tsunade wanted to say that he indeed had messed up big time, but she knew that her teammate regretted his choice for not taking care of Naruto when he was still young. Probably he had even chosen to take the blonde on a 3-year training trip, so that he could make up for lost time. She was not going to point out Jiraiya's wrongs for him. He was already beating himself for it. He did not need her to add more to that misery. There was also the fact that Jiraiya had felt responsible for Minato's death. He felt that as his sensei he should have been there to protect him. He failed to do that, and it pained him. "I just hope that he will." Tsunade trailed off as she sensed something. Naruto appeared in the middle of the office right in front of Tsunade's desk. He just appeared, just like that. There were no leaves that came with him. There was not cloud of smoke, there was nothing. He just appeared. Not even a flash of something was seen. "Morning, Tsunade-sama." Jiraiya Naruto greeted the two former teammates with a small smile. Jiraiya simply nodded to Naruto. Tsunade responded with words. "Morning to you too, Naruto," she said with a smile. "Did you sleep well at your new home?" "Yes, the night was pleasant," Naruto replied, still standing in front of Tsunade's desk. "I'm glad," Tsunade said before clearing her throat. For what purpose, only she knew. "Can you sit down, Naruto? Jiraiya and I have things to discuss with you." "I would imagine so," Naruto stated, taking a sit. He would never have been called at this time of the morning to the office if there was nothing to talk about. "First thing, we will ask you some questions which we will ask that you give us honest answers," Jiraiya said, taking over from Tsunade. Tsunade nodded. "Yes, you can trust us with anything," she said. Naruto simply remained quiet. The smile on his face was now replaced by an impassive expression on his face. He waited for Tsunade and Jiraiya to start with the discussion, but that did not mean he was going to share with them everything. He would not want to put Itachi's life in danger. Itachi was no longer strong as he was given his condition. If he were to tell them about him, they would surely try to get him to tell them about his whereabouts. Naruto knew that not even Jiraiya or Tsunade were aware of Itachi's mission. "Tell me, Naruto, how did you find out about your parentage?" It was a closely guarded secret that only Anbu and the council members knew of. Jiraiya questioned, looking straight into Naruto's eyes. "Someone told me about it," Naruto responded calmly. "Who?" This time, it was Tsunade who asked the question. "I cannot tell you that. I made that perfectly clear yesterday." Tsunade gritted her teeth but remained calm. Naruto was not making things easy for her. She wanted to protect him from the council, should they know that he had not been with Jiraiya during the past 3 years. But for her to protect him, she needed him to be honest with her and tell her everything. There was also the fact that they had to know who had told Naruto about his parentage and for what purpose. She wanted to know if village secrets were being leaked by someone else. She also had to know if someone her and Jiraiya knew had gone to tell Naruto about his parentage, while they had worked to keep it away from him and the whole world. "Naruto, why can't you just tell us? It's just me and Jiraiya. What do you think we will do? Because if I do tell you, I would be betraying someone's trust in me. I cannot do something like that. And as for what I think you will do, I have not thought that far, since I never planned to tell you anything that could violate someone's trust in me." Tsunade was rather unnerved by Naruto's calm demeanor. She narrowed her eyes at him suspiciously. Whoever had told Naruto about his parentage must have meant a lot to Naruto, if he was not willing to give them even a name. Even Jiraiya now looked at Naruto suspiciously. He could not understand why Naruto would not tell them the name of the person who told him of his parentage. Jiraiya's gut was telling him that whoever told Naruto about his parentage is the one that trained him for the past 3 years. He had a strong feeling towards that. Naruto noticed their suspicious gazes and inwardly shook his head in disappointment. Just because he was refusing to tell them about something, they were already looking at him with suspicion. "Tsunade-sama, I will let that suspicious look on your eyes slide for now," Naruto said, causing Tsunade to look at him with slightly wider eyes. "Godfather, you are looking at me with suspicion, simply because I refuse to tell the name of the person who told me of my parentage. Ironic, you look at me with suspicion because I refuse to tell you something, as I would be betraying someone. You who, being my godfather, lied to my face when I asked you if you of my parents." Naruto said, his tone still calm. Jiraiya had the decency to flinch and look down in shame. "What concerns you the most, Jiraiya, Tsunade-sama? Is it the fact that someone told me of my heritage? Is that someone had the guts to be honest with me? Is it that I am keeping things from you too? Shouldn't you be happy that I went away and came back safe and strong enough to protect myself?" Jiraiya and Tsunade were not really expecting Naruto to say something like that, so they were surprised upon hearing those words from Naruto. Perhaps Naruto is right. They should be happy that Naruto had returned to them safely. He had transformed his personality and attitude. He had come back smart. As people who care for Naruto, they should have been happy for him. So why were they focused on grinding information from Naruto? Is it because they did not like it when Naruto kept things from them? Was it being fair to him? They also kept things from that could have changed his life way sooner. Naruto would never do anything that would harm Konoha or any of his friends. They knew that. Naruto's love for Konoha ran deep. He would never do anything or associate himself with someone who could harm the village. If they knew that, why did they even look at him with suspicion? "I should have known better," Tsunade said more to herself than anyone. "Naruto, it is not that we are not happy that you have returned and know of your heritage. We are just worried about you. You also have to understand that your heritage is an S-class secret. I do not believe that you met anyone from the village who could have told you about it, since recently there has been no one from our top ranks to depart the village. So it would be alarming if someone outside the village knows one of our closely guarded secrets." Jiraiya added to Tsunade's words. "You should have known that I would never do anything that would harm Konoha," Naruto said. "There is nothing to worry about in terms of village security. Regardless of your concerns, I still will not tell you who told me of my heritage. I am very thankful of what the person did for me. If not told, I would have been running around the world not knowing who I was. Now that I know who I am and where I come from, I can live freely and be myself. Back then, What made me strong and kept me alive was my heart and desire to protect that which was precious to me. Now I know my roots. I know what is expected of me as Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze's son. Jiraiya had to nod. Naruto did make sense with what he was saying. He also had to give the blonde praise. While speaking of the mysterious person who told him about his heritage, Naruto never gave them anything. Not the gender, not even who the person was associated with. He did not even reveal whether the person was from Konoha or not. I understand. I think Haim also understands, Jiraiya said, eyeing the blonde Hokage before looking straight at Naruto. However, I need you to answer some questions, he said. Naruto waited for the questions. Was the person who told you of your heritage the one you had been with in duration of the past 3 years? Yes, Naruto responded calmly. You said you could now be myself. Are you saying that before you left Konoha you were not being yourself? Tsunade was shocked at question. Jiraiya was asking if Naruto had been wearing a mask before he left the village for his training. Naruto smiled slightly at the Sannin. How perceptive of you, Jiraiya. You noticed that little detail, Naruto said. To answer your question, yes and no. Yes. Not every smile I gave was real. Most of them were fakes hiding my pain and loneliness. I also was not stupid as people might have thought I was. I believe only Shikamaru knew the real me. No, I was always kind-hearted by nature. My desire to protect was not fake, but that was something that came from my heart. In addition, my dream of being Hokage came to be because I wanted to be acknowledged and seen as acceptable. When I left Konoha for the training trip, the way I was, that was part of the real me. Now as you see me, this is who I am. This is the real me. You could as well say that right now I am complete. Naruto's words left both Tsunade and Jiraiya bewildered. None of them had seen this one coming. Why did I not realize it? Tsunade and Jiraiya asked themselves. Now are we in agreement that you won't be asking me about who I trained with, and who told me about my heritage? Yes, Tsunade said with a sigh. Well then, is there something else? Yes, but before that, where is that necklace I gave you? Tsunade asked. She had not seen Naruto wearing it yesterday. Even today he was not wearing it. I have it placed somewhere safe. I know you gave it to me to wear. Well, technically, I want it. But knowing how valuable it is, I doubt you would have given it to me if you did not want to. I stopped wearing it when I began training. I did not want to lose it, and also I feel uncomfortable wearing it knowing what it does. He was not going to explain to Tsunade what it does. She knew that the necklace was really a seal that could activate on its own once a certain amount of power of a Bijiru was released by a Jinchuriki. But that does not mean I did not appreciate it. I know it is very precious to you, knowing that it is the only material thing that can remind you of your grandfather other than Konoha itself. However, I will not give it back. I will keep it and give it to someone precious to me. Jiraiya quickly responded with a grin. You mean like a girl? Naruto sighed. Jiraiya was a shameless pervert. In this case, he was right. Tsunade smiled, knowing that Naruto had not just discarded the gift she gave to him, and his silence proved that Jiraiya was right. He was going to give it to a girl. She just hoped that the girl was well-mannered, beautiful, strong and kind-hearted like Naruto. She would not accept anything less than that. Do you want me to reveal that you are the son of the Yondain to the village? Tsunade asked. Actually, she wanted him to say yes so she could see the look on the faces of the villagers when they hear that the very person they have hated and treated as a social outcast is the son of their beloved Yondaime Hokage. Do what you want, Naruto said with a nonchalant shrug. Tsunade nodded. Naruto, you have also not told us about your training and how strong you are, Jiraiya said. Jiraiya, a ninja must have his secrets. I cannot give you a proper rank without knowing how strong you are. Currently you are just a Chunin. Last time I remember I was just a Genin, Naruto said, knowing that he was not promoted after the Chunin exams, despite showing skills that were compatible to a Chunin. Tsunade smirked. After you left, I promoted you after reviewing your performance at the exams. You fought Gaara after having released Shikaku and defeated him. No Genin can do that, and also your fight with Neji was impressive. The council just wanted you to be grounded, Tsunade explained. Naruto just nodded, not even looking the slightest excited or thrilled by the news. In measuring your strength, I know a perfect way to have you show what you can do. You cannot refuse, as it is an order from you, Hokage. Naruto just sighed again. He had expected as much from Tsunade. She would not rest until she knew how strong he was. Knowing how strong he was would work in her favor when she has to be overprotective of him. You will be at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at 10 p.m. That was an order, not a request by the Godaime Hokage. Naruto simply nodded. We also wanted to tell you about the Akatsuki, Jiraiya said. They have disbanded. I know that. How? Naruto shrugged in response. He really did not have to respond to each question. That does not matter, Tsunade said. The good news is that Naruto is safe from them, and Tsunade was cut off by the opening door. Tsunade-sama, I have brought you the reports. A grown-up Sakura trailed off when she noticed the spiky blonde hair. She stood still staring with wide eyes. Naruto turned around to look at his former teammate in Team 7. He gave the girl a smile. Sakura, he said. Sakura walked closer to Naruto with a mountain of papers in her hands, and Naruto nodded. Sakura beamed up brightly at seeing her former teammate for the first time in 3 years. Naruto, she said happily. How have you been? How was your training? When did you come back? Sakura started asking questions like a schoolgirl. The adults just watched with small smiles in their faces. I am well. I returned yesterday. How have you been? Good, Sakura replied. You look wow, she said, dropping her reports to the floor like they did not matter. She touched her shirt and spun around. How do I look? Beautiful as always, Naruto said, giving the girl a lady killer smile. That made the girl blush at the simple compliment. Jiraiya, on the other hand, was singing in pure happiness, seeing how well Naruto was handling Sakura. The old Naruto would have just insulted her. However, this one made her blush. This meant one thing for the Sannin gold mine. Naruto stood up and looked back at Tsunade. Well, I believe we have already discussed everything. I will see you tomorrow, Hokage-sama, Naruto said and disappeared in flash of yellow. Tsunade blinked and blinked again. Damn, Jiraiya. You forgot to ask him about that exclamation point. Jiraiya smiled. I will go and ask him now. If he disappeared like that, then he is off to his house. I will see you later, Haim, the self-proclaimed super pervert said, jumping out of the window. Sakura looked at her master, forgetting that she had dropped the reports she wanted Tsunade to sign on the floor. Tsunade-sama, was that really Naruto? She asked. That Naruto was very different from the one she knew. Still, she was glad that he had changed. Yes, Sakura, that was Naruto, Tsunade replied, looking straight at her student. He really has changed. Tsunade sighed, rubbing her temples. Yes, Sakura, you have already told him that. I have. She sort of like questioned herself, like that conversation earlier with Naruto had not happened. Sakura, Tsunade called, snapping Sakura out of her thoughts. Aren't you forgetting something? Huh? Tsunade moved her eyes down on the floor. Seeing that Sakura was not getting her, she moved her fingers and pointed at the papers. Sakura looked at them and flushed in embarrassment. I forgot about them, she said, leaning down to pick up the papers. These are the reports you had me prepare yesterday, so you could approve, she said, handing over Tsunade the papers. Great. More paperwork. Tsunade yelled inside her head at the work Sakura was giving her. Well, at least this was from the hospital. She cared too much for the hospital to avoid its work. She did not have much work to do anymore since Sakura and Shizune did most of the work. Tsunade took the paperwork and placed it aside. She first had to finish some of the paperwork her receptionist had brought her. Where is Shizune? She had a night shift at the hospital. Did not she tell you that yesterday? Tsunade sighed. Shizune had told her yesterday that she was going to take a night shift at the hospital. Sometimes when Shizune took a night shift, she would often come at the office in the morning to check if things were in order, then go home to sleep. I guess she had a lot more work to do last night, she thought. Without Shizune, she would not have anyone to dump on her work. Tsunade-sama, Sakura said, causing Tsunade to look at her. Now that Naruto is back, will Team 7 be formed again? I mean, all the team members are present in the village. In addition, you did say that Sasuke-kun sometimes takes missions with Kakashi-sensei. Tsunade sighed for the 100th time since she woke up. I don't know, Sakura, she said honestly. It depends on Naruto. After what happened between him and Sasuke, I don't think he will want to be on the same team with Sasuke, but I will ask him tomorrow about it. In the topic of Sasuke, Naruto had never brought up his name since he returned. It was like he was not even concerned about Sasuke. It was like he did not care for the Uchiha. Oh, Sakura breathed out. She knew that when Naruto left for his training, he was not in the most of happy person. In fact, he was somewhat scary to look at, because Sasuke had almost killed him. Of course, she did not believe it at first when she was told that Sasuke had attempted and almost succeeded in killing Naruto. But when showed evidence, she believed it. Still, she could not understand why Sasuke would do something like that to Naruto. He might have been loud and annoying, but he was their friend and teammate. Naruto was the only friend that Sasuke had. Regardless, she still naively believed that things would go back to the way they were before the Sasuke retrieval mission. She wanted Team 7 to be back together again, so they could be a family again. Sakura, it might be hard for you to understand, but at least try to see things in Naruto's point of view, Tsunade stated, not wanting to give the girl hopes that Team 7 would be reinstated again. Sakura just nodded. Are you going back to the hospital? Tsunade asked, changing the subject. Yes, Sakura answered immediately. I have a few patients that I have to see before noon, she said. Tsunade nodded in understanding. Tell the rest of Naruto's friends to be at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at 10h00. What will be happening at my old training ground? It's a surprise, Tsunade said with a small smile. An hour later, after the meeting with Tsunade, Naruto Naruto had flashed back to his house to get money for the things he wanted to buy. First, he had went on to buy the furniture he wanted. He was surprised to see that shop owners were actually smiling at him while he bought the things he wanted. Once he bought his things, he had given them the directions to his house so they could deliver his things. Some of the things had to be added, some custom things he wanted, so it would take a few hours for them to finish. Nevertheless, at noon they said they would bring him his furniture. Naruto appeared in front of the Yamanaka flower shop. He used the roofs in his own advanced sunshine that was similar to the one Ember used to travel and teleport himself to places. He wanted to avoid meeting some of his friends today when necessary before tomorrow. He had planned to see them today, but since Tsunade had planned other things, he would see them tomorrow, since he had no doubt they would be at the training ground. Naruto opened the doors to the flower shop, walked over to the flowers without consulting anyone at the counter. He did not even notice who was behind the counter. "Hello," a voice Naruto recognized very well called. "Can I help you?" Naruto turned around and looked at the blonde-haired girl behind the counter. Ino stared at him with wide eyes upon seeing his face. He was so wow. She wanted to squeak just by looking at those deep blue eyes that stared at hers. "Naruto." Naruto said, walking over to the girl. "Is it really you?" "Yes," Naruto replied, keeping his impassive expression. He had been so proud during his time with Itachi. Ino got away from the counter and went on to stand in front of him. Her eyes were ogling him from toe to head. "My Naruto, you look wonderful," she said slyly. "Well, expect Ino to be subtle, and she will give you just that." She was straightforward and was not ashamed of her behavior. In fact, she seemed proud of it because it was who it was. Naruto looked at the girl studying her. She certainly has grown well, and her body was well developed, more womanly. She dwarfed Sakura with her chest. In terms of looks, she was just as beautiful. Naruto shoved his thoughts at the back of his head. During his time with Itachi, he never had these kind of thoughts. Perhaps it was because there was a lack of females at the hideout. At the hideout, he even rarely smiled. However, ever since he returned, he had been smiling more often. Nevertheless, he knew that the smiles would disappear soon and replaced by a bored look. "When did you return?" "How was?" Naruto cut her off. "One question at a time, Ino," Naruto said. "I returned yesterday." "And you did not tell your friends that you returned." "We missed you so much, you know." "I had important matters to deal with," Naruto replied. Ino nodded. "I'm amazed. It's not just your appearance that has changed, but your attitude as well. I never thought that you would change." Unexpected things occur every time, Naruto responded. "What are you doing here anyway?" "I did not think that you liked flowers," Ino said happily. "You did not know me," Naruto said. "I want to buy some flowers for my garden." "You have a garden?" "Yes." "Where?" "As far as I know, you live in an apartment," Ino said. That was indeed a surprise to her. She did not take Naruto as the kind to be taking care of a garden. "At my house," Naruto replied, not hiding that he was now living inside his inherited house. "Wow, you have your own house?" Ino asked, greatly surprised by what Naruto had just said. "Yes," Naruto replied. Ino was questioning him a lot. Not that he had anything to hide, he just had come to order the flowers, then go back to his house. "Okay, what kind of flowers do you want?" Naruto listed everything he wanted, from annuals, bulbs, roses, perennials, herbs, and vines. One particular tree that he liked was showed in a poster, a redwood tree. The tree was beautiful. Naruto wanted it on his garden. The flowers Naruto wanted amazed Ino. He did truly know what he wanted in his garden. Thinking of it, she really wanted to see it. Anyone who liked flowers had to be her friend, especially if it was a hot guy like Naruto. Naruto handed the money his flowers cost. "Some of the things you bought here are not in the flower shop, but at our garden. I will have to get them there," Ino said. "It's alright," Naruto said. "Pen and paper," he said. Ino gave him what he requested. Naruto wrote something on the paper, then handed it back to Ino. "What is it?" "Directions to my house. You will have to deliver them." "Okay," Ino said, rather happily that she should have been. With that, Naruto walked away from the flower shop without another word. Ino just stared at his retrieving figure with her head resting on her hand. After Naruto stepped out of the flower shop, he took the roofs and headed back home. Naruto's house, Jiraiya, had been waiting for Naruto for a few minutes now. Since he left Tsunade's office, he had said he was coming here, but he had taken a little detour to the hot springs. Unfortunately, there was no one as it was still morning. He was utterly saddened by that. He got no material for his next book. It was not acceptable, but there was nothing he could do about it. He could not drag women from their homes and force them to play in the hot springs while he watched. Perhaps he could have Naruto use that sexy jutsu for him. Yep, that would definitely do, since the hot and exotic blonde-haired women Naruto was able to make had knocked him a few times. He doubted the blonde would do it for him anyway. He sensed Naruto at the entrance of the house and left the study to the entrance. "Jiraiya, that is just wrong. No matter your relationship with a person, you don't enter their houses and wander around while they are not around," Naruto stated as he entered the house. He sensed the Sannin upon arriving at the house. "Come on, Naruto, I have been coming in and out of this house before you were even born." "Yes, my parents allowed you to enter the house." But now the house is owned by me. I am forbidding you to enter my house when I am not in, Naruto said. If you ignore that, you will regret it. Now that was just wrong. Not the words themselves, but the way Naruto said them and the little smile he had on his face. It sounded like Orochimaru had spoken those words. That was never a comfort to anyone. Therefore, Jiraiya nodded. So then, what is it? I thought everything had been discussed, Naruto said, going to the sitting room. Jiraiya followed him. Yes, well, there was something we forgot to ask you. What is it? Twice since you have returned, you have disappeared from Tsunade's office in a yellow flash. I don't understand your question. Did you learn your father's most prized jutsu? Naruto stared at Jiraiya for a moment before replying. Yes. When? How did you even get your hands on it? Entrance to the house was strictly forbidden unless given permission by the Hokage. Are you expecting me to answer you, Jiraiya? Naruto asked calmly. Yes, I am curious. No, huh? I won't answer your question, Naruto stated, standing up. Jiraiya gritted his teeth at the lack of answers. There was no doubt the person who told Naruto of his heritage also trained him and sneak in the house to take the scrolls. That person was either a former Ando of the village or someone else who was privileged to strength secrets of the village. He had thought of a certain name, but he had shrugged it off as the odds were against it. Fine, he said in a defeated tone. He liked the old Naruto much better than this one. He followed Naruto outside the house through the back door. Naruto smiled at the work his clones had done. The grass was just cut, and the weed had been rooted off his green grass. Added with some flowers, the garden will be very much beautiful. You have done well to put the house back to perfect condition, Jiraiya commented. Ramen stand. It was just past noon, and Naruto had decided to get something at the ramen stand. He had missed the sweet taste of Ichiraku ramen. Itachi had never allowed him to eat any. He never even bought any each time he went away to get food for them to eat. Other foods Naruto was allowed as Itachi said they were good for his body and overall grown. Itachi had reminded him that he was shorter than any of his age group friends. Naruto had admitted that ramen did not give him the nutrients that other healthy food would give him. Healthy food that were rich in nutrients was also good for him on his training. To be able to recover quickly and keep a healthy body, he needed to eat healthy food. He could not always depend on the Kyuubi to deal with healing his body. The Kyuubi also could not give him the nutrients that his body needed. He could only get them from food that he ate. And so he had gone for 3 years without eating a single noodle of ramen. Ino had already delivered the flowers he wanted. He kept them safe and watered. He would plant them at night or tomorrow morning. It would depend on whether he had time today. If not tomorrow before training ground 7, he would plant them. Ino had insisted on getting to see the inside of his house. Luckily, there was no portrait of his parents in the sitting room and kitchen, the only place he had showed Ino. If Ino were to know that his father was the Yondaime Hokage, the whole of Konoha would be aware of it by the end of the day. He girl did not know when to keep her mouth shut after hearing something that other people did not know. Naruto arrived at the ramen stand and took his sit. Hello, Am, he greeted to the woman who was attending another customer. Am took notice of Naruto and rushed over to him. Naruto, is that really you? Yes, Naruto responded. The moment the yes left his mouth, Am jumped the counter and threw herself at Naruto. She hit him, making him fall off his chair. She had more power than Naruto had anticipated. Both crashed at the ground with Am sitting on top of Naruto. I have missed you so much, Naruto, she said happily with no intentions to get off him, as she had yet to realize that she was on top of him. I missed you too, Am, Naruto said. Not that I have a problem with you sitting on top of me, but I'm really uncomfortable, Naruto stated, looking at Am's eyes. Am took notice that she was indeed on top of Naruto, and he was uncomfortable as he had hit the ground awkwardly. She blushed slightly and hit Naruto on his shoulder for his comment before getting off him. She stalked off to the back of the counter. Naruto stood up and dusted himself before sitting down again. When did you come back? Am asked, looking at Naruto happily. Yesterday, Naruto responded. How are you and how was the 3 years for you? I'm well. The 3 years were quiet, pleasant, and satisfactory, Naruto replied. How about you? I'm well. It just was never been the same without you around. Your disappearance was quickly noted the second or perhaps the day you left. I would imagine so given my character. Those days, Naruto responded with a smile. Those days, he was very loud and would be going around the streets of Konoha shouting something to anyone. He was not very quiet, and his orange made it easy for people to recognize him without mistake or a second look. Father, Am shouted. Come here, there is someone I want you to see. A second later, Chuchi appeared behind the counter. He still held a spoon on his hand. It was clear that he was cooking something before Am decided to call him. What is it, Am? He asked. Am pointed at Naruto. Chuchi looked at Naruto and then smiled softly. Naruto, my boy, you have returned, he said. Yes, Naruto responded with a smile of his own. How have you been, Chuchi-san? Good, good. I must say, I'm happy to see back in one piece and looking to be in perfect condition, Chuchi said. The Ichiraku had been like his family, seeing that they provided for him and were the only people who allowed him to eat without overcharging him and just kicking him out of their shops. They sometimes even allowed him to eat without money to pay for his food. He was very grateful for them and what they have done for his life. How has business been? Naruto asked whether the ramen stand was still making profit or not. Shuchi smiled pleasantly. Good, he said. If it wasn't, we would not have opened now, would have we? Even if you just to open for you number one customer? Naruto asked. Shuchi chuckled slightly. If the bar was closed, I would open anytime for my favorite customer, he said. Naruto smiled. Can I have one bowl of miso ramen, he said, getting his order. Am nodded and went back to the kitchen along with her father, who went back to cooking what he had been cooking before Am called him. Naruto did not have to wait for too long to get his ramen. He ate it surprisingly slowly and savoring it. Am was really surprised to see Naruto eat with proper manners. She was even more surprised when Naruto said only a single bowl was enough. No, it's free for today since I have missed you, Am said, refusing to take Naruto's money. Please, Am. I have already ate much more from you guys for free. At least now that I have money, allow me to pay for my meals, Naruto said, trying to convince Am to take his money. He did not want the Ichiraku to suffer on their income because he was eating from them for free. No, as I said, the meal was for free. Naruto sighed and pocketed the money. Perhaps when he was still young, he would have gladly accepted the free ramen, because money at that time was scarce. He also did not understand what it meant for the Ichiraku when they gave him free food. Well, the girl was not going to budge. He could at least be grateful. Well, thanks anyway, Naruto finally said. I will see you around, Am. With that, he disappeared from the ramen stand. Am blinked twice, and then shrugged before going to the kitchen to help her father with kitchen duties. Later that day, after Naruto had left the ramen stand, he had gone home and went straight to the study to continue with his book. He spent hours writing it. Then he was interrupted. To be precise, his own thoughts interrupted him. He had remembered the time Jiraiya had been refusing to train him, saying he had to do research for his next book. Naruto had worked the whole night writing the next book to the Icha Icha series. Jiraiya had been devastated upon learning what Naruto had done, more shocked when a courier took the notes and delivered them to a feudal lord of another country. Naruto was surprised when the feudal lord actually giggled perversely after reading the first page of his script. At that time, he had just thought he could write well as much as Jiraiya could. Perhaps he is indeed right. He was only 12 at that time, and he was able to write stuff that Jiraiya needed to peek on women to write. He wrote it without peeking. That spoke much about his own thoughts and imaginations. Unable to continue with his book, Naruto had decided to visit to Forest of Death to blow off some steam. Naruto stood in the middle of the forest, after having made sure that he had created enough distance between him and Konoha. He did not want anyone eavesdropping while he blew off some steam. Wine style, wine god technique. He created a giant tornado, which spun towards the trees. The giant tornado moved towards the trees and began to uproot a number of trees in its path with its ferocity. The jutsu continued to cause destruction on its path before dying down and leaving only its destruction behind. Naruto formed more hand signs for his next jutsu. Wine style, divine down current. Naruto created a vortex of wind and blasted it towards the trees. The jutsu successfully destroyed its helpless targets within seconds. Naruto set more hand seals. Wine style, vacuum wind barrage. He took a deep breath and exhaled several wind blades. He shot them at different angles by rapidly moving his head towards different directions. The wind blades Naruto shot hit the trees, cutting them from different directions. When Naruto stopped his jutsu, the trees around him were cut down by the jutsu. A seal-less clone appeared next to Naruto. It jumped away from creating some distance between them. Just as it was about to take action, Naruto sensed something. His clone also sensed it and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto tilted his head sideways as a kunai came flying towards his head. He caught it rather easily in the middle of his fingers. He then flicked it and gripped it tightly. He spun around swiftly and threw the kunai at a rather fast speed. The target managed to avoid being hit by the kunai, but she was surprised when she felt a cut on her right cheek even though the kunai missed her. She ran her finger horizontally on the cheek and brought it in front on her. She smiled in a wrong way and leaked her blood. Naruto recognized the woman. Ah, the sexy mistress Anko Mitarashi, Naruto said impassively, looking at the woman. Anko jumped down from where she stood and walked in a way that could be called seductive towards Naruto. She stopped just a few inches from him before a snake shot out of her sleeve and wrapped itself around Naruto. And who might you be? You don't remember me. You did the same thing I just did to you 3 years ago to me at the Chunin exams. It clicked on Anko. She could see that he looked like the Yondaime, but the guy was dead, so the thought of he being him never crossed her mind. Wait, you are that Gaki, Anko said in disbelief. Naruto just nodded. Do you mind telling me why you are interrupting my session? Anko shrugged. This is my forest, and usually nobody comes here, so I was surprised when I sensed someone harming my home. And Walla, look at what I found. Naruto sighed. He had now lost all the drive. Blow off some steam. Anko leaned to his ear. What do you say we play a game of tag handsome? Naruto pushed Anko away from him and grabbed the snake he had been ignoring before throwing it to Anko. Sorry, no can do, he said, and disappeared in yellow flash. Anko blinked multiple times. Damn that brat, he ran away from me. She gained a mischievous grin on her face. Well, I like them when they run away, she said. Her snake hissed, seemingly agreeing with her. A pity she never found him. By the time the sun took over its shift as day had become, Naruto was already awake. Whether with much or little to do, over the past years, he had become used to waking up early. During those younger days, waking up early in the morning was not his favorite thing. He downright hated it, especially when the sun bothered you while you were still enjoying the warmth the bed gave. Sleep in the morning was always enjoyable, but what is gained for spending too much time in sleep? Nothing. For a shinobi, waking up early has to be a daily thing, except for one of those days where you have to rest your body from everyday activities. There are so much things and tasks to complete for a shinobi. Sleeping too much only delays the completion of tasks. But that did not mean that one did not have to rest. No, the body and mind needed rest each day. Without rest, the body can never function at its full capabilities. It is always important to sleep the normal hours needed for the body, mind to rest and recharge. Despite often waking up before others, Naruto always slept the hours that were enough for his body to rest. Everybody was different. Hours needed for the body to rest were different. With him, he knew that his body needed only few hours, as the Kyuubi always refreshed his body of whatever stress it endured. His mind was what always needed. He might not be a genius like the Nara, but his mind worked overtime more than the Nara. He worked of complex things that even the smartest of the shadow users cannot hope to decipher. That was why he was proud of his mind, and why he always gave it much needed rest. It computed everything he did. Without the mind, his body would not function. After planting the flowers in his garden, Naruto set up the sprinklers and allowed the water to joyfully dance on his grass. The grass would be pleased with the service. Happy grass meant a beautiful garden for him. He went upstairs to take a shower. He would need to before going to the study. He was dirty with mud from his plantation. Today he had rested his clones. They had done much with the garden. He could do the final additions without much trouble. Naruto dropped off his dirty clothes, leaving him with nothing put on his skin, not even boxers. He stepped into the shower and opened the cold water that dropped to his body like cold ice blocks. He did not mind the cold, though. Cold water was what he needed to refresh his body. He ran his right hand on his hair, removing any unwanted dirt from his beautiful hair. Today he would be seeing all his friends. It had been long since he saw all of them. They would certainly be happy to see him again. He was the one that always made them laugh and sort of like the light on Konoha 12. A pity that was never to be the case again. Most of them would be mostly annoying. He doubted that Kiba would have changed. He was annoying than anyone. One would call Lee annoying, but that was who he was. Many might ridicule him for his attitude, but it is his attitude that makes him strong. It is his attitude that makes him strive to become better than anyone in terms of taijutsu. Naruto admired that. Perhaps one person he would see differently would be Neji. The Hyuga prodigy might have been a stuck-up Hyuga, but after he had beat him up at the Chunin exams, he had seen him try to change. His previous mentality would have gotten him killed sooner. He underestimated everyone who he deemed below him, but that was settled when he showed the Hyuga that everyone created their own fate. Another life he changed. He did not expect the others to have changed that much. Sakura and Ino still looked like they had their fangirlish attitude, which was honestly annoying. Both girls were beautiful, but their attitudes had much fixing to do. After the shower, Naruto got into his gear. He left the chest plate armor, sword and cloak, as he was not moving out yet. He still had to visit the study to do more work on his book and study a little more about barriers. Training Ground 7. The Godame Hokage, Senju Tsunade, was tapping the ground with her right foot impatiently as she waited for Naruto to appear. Everybody else was present except for Naruto, but it was just 9:45, and she had said for Naruto be at the training ground at 10. Be patient, Haim, he will come, Jiraiya said, trying to calm the blonde Hokage. Her actions were making the others uncomfortable. He better, or will make sure he spends a month in the hospital wrapped in bandages like a mummy. Jiraiya became quiet, knowing that Tsunade would not calm down until Naruto appeared. Well, even Kakashi had appeared before 10. Right now he was already at the training ground with his famous bored expression. He really wished Tsunade would learn to be patient. It was not even the time she had said for the blonde to come. The other members of the Konoha 12 who were at the training ground did not know why they had been called. Some did not even know that he had returned, except for Sakura and Ino, who had already encountered him. One in particular had a good idea why they were called. Sakura, being a good girl, had only informed them that Tsunade wanted them here at 10. She did not tell them that Naruto had returned. Surprises were good after all. Amongst the group were Yuuhi Kurenai, Jounin Sensei of Team 8, Asuma Saratobi, Jounin Sensei of Team 10 and Might Guy, the Jounin sense of Team Guy. Of all the Jounins, Kurenai and Kakashi were the ones who knew that Naruto had returned. Kurenai had also forgotten to tell Hinata that Naruto had returned. Perhaps she had done it intentionally. If Naruto had not made his return known to his friends, then it was not her place to tell. Even the Hokage had not told them. 1000 AM Tsunade was about to have someone get Naruto when the blonde appeared in front of the group. Like he had been doing. He just appeared, no puff of smoke, no swirl of leaves. Naruto stood in all his glory with the wearing his full gear and sword strapped on his back. He turned to face the group. About time the voices of Naruto's friends cut Tsunade off before she could say anything. Naruto took his time to look at the group. Kiba still looked the same, Neji seemed somewhat different, and Choji and Shikamaru still looked the same. Shino was looking stoic as always. The females had just grown physically. He did not know much about their mindset though. Is that really Naruto? Asuma asked, finding it hard to believe that the former loudmouth brat was the young man standing in front of them. Yes, that is him, Kurenai said. I saw him the day he returned. Yosh, he looks youthful, Guy said. Kakashi remained quiet as if he was not interested in anything. That was not the case though. He was very much interested. He wanted to see how strong Naruto had become. Is that really you, Naruto? Kiba asked. Naruto nodded. Before he could say anything, Tsunade spoke. The reunion will be for later, she said firmly. Right now we need to get on to why I called everyone here, she said. Naruto looked at the Hokage, his face no longer adopting the small smiles he had been carrying since he returned. Who will it be, Jiraiya or Kakashi? There was no other person Tsunade would have him fight to test his strength, since she knew that the two were the only ones who could test him in all areas. Sakura, get ready, Tsunade said. You want me to participate too? Yes, your former sensei and teammate have to see how far you have progressed with your own training. Naruto raised his brows, seeing Sakura smile at the opportunity. Could not you have done that another day before this? He asked the blonde Hokage. What was that? Tsunade asked with narrowed eyes. There seemed to be an underlying threat between her words. Apparently, Naruto was oblivious to it. Or he just did not fear the threat. I believe you could have done it another day. And you have her reports. So I don't see the point in having her fight. The others just looked at Naruto. Some had the same train of thoughts with him, but neither were willing to voice it out. They still liked their bodies as they were. Jiraiya was willing to voice his own thoughts. He does have a point. He earned a glare from Tsunade. Plus, if we really want to see how far Naruto has progressed with his training, we should have him fight one-on-one. Jiraiya wanted to fight the blonde himself, but Tsunade said he was overestimating Naruto's abilities. If he thought he could handle a Sannin, even if he could not handle him, fighting someone far stronger than him will force him to use everything he has to win. However, Tsunade failed to see the logic in that, despite having explained it to her abundantly. Who trained her anyway? Naruto asked quietly. The rest of the Konoha 12 just watched. They were seeing the new Naruto. He had definitely changed. His tone was calm and relaxed. No more were the goofy smiles. In fact, ever since he appeared, the only time he seemed to smile was when he looked at them. However, when he turned to Tsunade, the small smile disappeared and was replaced by an expression that gave away nothing. Tsunade-sama, did Sakura replied, feeling left out of the conversation. She was a little disappointed that Naruto was against the idea of having her participate in the fight. She wanted to show everyone what she had been doing over the past 3 years. No doubt she turned you into her copy like Guy did with Lee. Shinobi skills, speaking of, that is, Naruto stated, looking at Sakura. Both also had quick tempers. They could be quite a pair. Did he just say that? Were the thoughts that ran through the minds of those observing. You could have been like me too, Jiraiya thought sadly, looking at Naruto. He would have turned Naruto into the next author of Icha Paradise had he not run away from him. What is that supposed to mean, Naruto? Tsunade asked. There seemed to be some danger within her words, but again, either Naruto missed it or just ignored. Nobody knew as he answered. If Gai-san took an apprentice, you assume that the apprentice will be a Taijutsu master. If Kurenai-san did the same, her student will be a Genjutsu master. With Kakashi, you can't say because he would not bother. Jaws dropped at those last words. Kakashi decided not to comment. It appears that his former student has a low opinion of him. Asuma-san, I don't know, since I know not his area of expertise. With Jiraiya, it is somewhere along the lines of toads and pervert. Is it just me, or is there something wrong with his picture? Kiba said. Naruto should not be speaking like that. Apparently, Kiba had only noticed that Naruto had changed. Akamaru barked, whether agreeing or disagreeing with his master, only Kiba could tell. Troublesome, Shikamaru said, ignoring Kiba's words like everyone else. He did make an accurate assessment though. Sakura, as Tsunade-sama's apprentice, should specialize in areas her master specializes, because that is all she can teach her. In this case, Sakura has become good in medical ninjutsu like her master, and has taken her master's way of fighting. As Naruto put it, her copy. That was spot on. Indeed, Tsunade had taught Sakura medical ninjutsu, and how to use her chakra enhanced punches, nothing else. Tsunade sighed. A thought came at her mind, and she smirked. Naruto, I had planned to have you fight Kakashi, but I have changed my mind. You will fight Jiraiya. She was still smirking as she said those words. She wanted to see Jiraiya pummel him to the ground for his loud mouth. Jiraiya smiled at this. He had been looking for this ever since Tsunade planned to have Naruto fight someone to see his strength. Kakashi decided to interject. Tsunade-sama, don't you think that is a bit too much for Naruto? Are you questioning my decision, Kakashi? Tsunade asked with narrowed eyes. Saving himself, Kakashi replied quickly, no, good, get ready Naruto, Jiraiya. Naruto removed his cloak and handed it to Tsunade, who placed it on her shoulder. I want to see everything you can do, Tsunade said to Naruto, just to make him understand that he was to show everything he learned. I will give you what you need to judge my skills, Naruto stated, moving towards Jiraiya. The perverted Sannin was waiting patiently for him. Is this really serious? Someone said. Is he going to fight a Sannin? I mean, Jiraiya-sama is the strongest in the village. Just shut up and watch the battle. Naruto-kun, Hinata thought as she watched her beloved crush going into a battle with a Sannin. She had quite frankly missed him so much. 3 years, 3 long years. And she had not seen his smile that always brought bliss to her fragile heart. How happy was she to see that he had returned. And also he looked rather handsome. The thoughts turned her face bright red as she struggled to contain the steam that was surely trying to escape. Naruto-kun is full of youthful flames, taking on the strongest in the village. If he wins, I shall make him my eternal rival, Lee yelled enthusiastically, not having the same train of thoughts as those who thought that match was unfair to Naruto. Lee thought no wrong in taking on the strongest to prove yourself. That's the spirit, Lee, Guy said with his nice guy pose. The others decided to ignore the two and focus on the fight that was to happen. Naruto looked at his former sensei with an unreadable expression. It was always important to hide your thoughts to your opponent. If you allow your opponent to read your thoughts, they can able to use them against and could easily predict your movements. The pervert was looking at him calmly, as if he was not to fight him. Jiraiya was busy trying to figure out what the blonde might have learned other than Kenjutsu. He could not carry a sword around without having the skills to wield it. He knew that with someone like Naruto, he had to expect Kenjutsu flying towards him because of his chakra reserves. That is if he had learned to make good use to it. Jiraiya, if you don't take this seriously, it will be a humiliating defeat for you, Naruto said, his tone blank, not betraying the impassive expression on his face. Jiraiya scoffed, like a brat, like you can humiliate the great. While Jiraiya was still doing his pose, Naruto summoned a kunai from a tattoo on his left arm. He coated it with wind chakra and threw it towards Jiraiya at tremendous speed. The kunai interrupted Jiraiya's pose as the Sannin barely evaded the kunai. He was surprised though when he saw part of his hair falling down the ground. The kunai Naruto had thrown went towards the trees and pierced through it before marching forwards to another. This shocked some as they had never seen a kunai do that. Asuma, being a winged user, had an idea of what Naruto did, but he did not voice his thoughts. Jiraiya looked at Naruto. Being an experienced shinobi as he was able to deduce what Naruto had done. Wind chakra enhanced kunai, he said, his eyes never leaving the blonde. If that had not come dangerously close to spilling his brains out, he would have been complaining about being interrupted while doing his pose. If I had not dodged that kunai, it would have killed me, he said, the playfulness in his tone gone. The words shocked the observers. Would Naruto actually go for the kill, even if it was just a sparring match to test his skill? Then you are lucky you dodged it. I should not be the one to teach you shinobi rules, Jiraiya-sensei. You took your eyes off me. That is something that is taught at the academy. Never take your eyes off your opponent, Naruto said, educating his former sensei. Haim had not said we could begin, Jiraiya said, feeling a bit insulted, because Naruto was trying to teach him something that he should be teaching the blonde. You know it as well as I do, that in a battle there are no proctors. Shinobi do not fight fair. We use everything to our advantage. Those with honor are the few ones who fight fairly. Naruto paused for a moment. Now Jiraiya, will we get this little show started? Tsunade now was seeing something different. The Naruto she had seen over the past 2 days was calm and reserved, but he was not like what she was seeing now. He still had that kind and peaceful aura around him the past 2 days. But now there was nothing. Not a damn thing. He was just unreadable. She could not predict what he would say next or do next. He calls it a little show, and yet he seemed to be taking it seriously, someone thought, looking at the blonde-haired Namikaze. You can begin anytime. I don't have all day. Here, Tsunade said impatiently at the two former sensei and student. Jiraiya got into a stance while Naruto did nothing. Aren't you going to take your stance? Jiraiya said, looking at Naruto, who stood like he was not about to fight. This is my stance, was the reply Jiraiya got from Naruto. Simply nodding, Jiraiya waited for Naruto to attack. But Naruto did nothing. He just stared at him. He saw that he was not going to attack him, so he decided to take the first dance. As soon as Jiraiya moved, Naruto did the same, surprising the Sannin at how quickly Naruto was able to follow his movements. He had not moved at full speed, but still surprised that Naruto could still react that fast to his movements. It had only been a second since he moved, and Naruto was coming towards as he was going after the blonde. They met in between from their previous positions. Jiraiya swung his left hand for a punch at Naruto's temple. The blonde was fast and able to see Jiraiya's attack, thus able to block. He moved his right hand and positioned it at his right hand side. Jiraiya's punch collided with his well-put defense and came to a halt. Jiraiya again swung his right hand towards Naruto's temple. The same as before happened. Naruto blocked the punch with his left hand. Before Jiraiya could do anything else, Naruto pushed Jiraiya's right hand away forcibly. This gave him an opening he needed. He went for a headbutt at the Sannin. Jiraiya was not a Sannin for nothing. As Naruto's head was coming towards him, he leaned back, balancing himself carefully before Naruto could react from missing his target. He moved his right leg in an attempt to kick Naruto on his face, while Jiraiya, was still in a leaned back position. He placed much power he could on the kick. Naruto quickly brought both his hands in front of him to make a hasty defense. He wanted to block Jiraiya's kick, which would have definitely hurt his precious face had he not blocked it. The power of the punch pushed him backwards, forcing him to lose his footing. As he was about to hit the ground, Naruto used his hands as balance, so the rest of his body would not hit the ground. Naruto's middle body was positioned horizontally, while both his legs and legs supporting it. He was like a four-legged animal, juts facing upwards. Jiraiya took advantage of the situation and moved towards a round. He jumped a few feet up in the air and attempted to punch Naruto on his chest. Naruto used his hands the way he should be using his legs. He raised both his feet and crossed them to put up a defense. The defense was successful in blocking Jiraiya's punch. The force behind it caused small cracks on the ground where Naruto's hands were positioned. The Sannin jumped away from Naruto, allowing him to recover. While mostly watching could only say the single word. "You have improved," Jiraiya said. Naruto said nothing. That was to be expected if someone had taken time to train. Jiraiya was speaking as if he had not expected him to change. You don't train to remain the same, but train to become stronger. He had taken much of his time to train, so that he may improve from where he was in terms of skill. He shot towards the Sannin in low Jounin speed. Jiraiya did the same, running towards Naruto. The Sannin was the first to attempt an attack. He spared his right hand for a right hook. Naruto ducked under the punch. While he was ducking, he held out his right hand and formed a spiral ball on his hand. It was just as big as his hand. Very, very small for a Rasengan. Shit, Jiraiya cursed. That was fast, he thought. Naruto crashed the Rasengan on Jiraiya's gut. The Sannin disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto stood still, narrowing his eyes at the nearby trees. A second later, Jiraiya jumped out of the tree he had observing his clone watch Naruto from. He looked at Naruto for a moment. The speed in which Naruto created that Rasengan was impressive. Even for a smaller version of the jutsu, it was impressive. Even he could not form the jutsu in the seconds Naruto took to do it. It must have been 1 second or less. If he could do a smaller version of the Rasengan in that time, how fast could he do the normal version? How did you know it was a clone? He doubted that Naruto would have hit him with a Rasengan without knowing he was a clone. If it had been the real him, he would have been put out of commission by the hit. There are 4 things Naruto begun. First, I'm not stupid enough to think that you would fight me head on at first without gauging the strength by a clone. It's the same tactic Kakashi uses. It is also obvious that you underestimate me. You obviously thought that a mere clone could do a little damage. Well, that was what Jiraiya had thought. He was a Sannin, and his clone could defeat a Chunin. He was surprised, though, that Naruto defeated his clone easily without receiving any hit. Second, you cannot fool me by a jutsu it took me an hour to learn and execute perfectly, despite the words being said impassively. Jiraiya had a feeling that Naruto was not pleased with the fact that he had used a clone to fight him, and that he tried to fool him with it. Third, the Hyugas had their Dojutsus activated. I caught their eye movements. In addition, Kakashi, Hokage-sama had already sensed you. Fourth, I was watching you. The moment those words left Naruto's mouth, shurikens flew towards Jiraiya. The Sannin looked behind him from the trees and looked at wave of shurikens flying towards him. He cursed. The shurikens hit Jiraiya dead on, piercing him, but Jiraiya turned into a log in a puff of smoke. The log revealed that the Sannin had used a replacement jutsu in the last minute. Jiraiya landed on a tree branch after replacing himself with a log, but before he could even sigh in relief, another wave of shurikens came flying towards him. He cursed again and blurred away from the tree, getting away from the projectile's path. He appeared on the clearing his clone had been fighting Naruto. Just then he sensed something coming at him, fast. He did not have time to turn out as the projectile flew past him. He doubted that Naruto had missed him unless his train of thoughts was stopped when he heard an explosion of smoke. Naruto appeared in the smoke. Uzumaki dance, he muttered. Jiraiya saw Naruto sending a flying kick towards his head and hastily brought out both his hands to block the kick. The kick broke through his defense and should have sent him flying, but before he could, he received another kick on his back. The Sannin again felt another hard kick on his gut, which made him wince. Before he could do anything again, his legs got swept and he lost his footing. As he was about to hit the ground on his front, Naruto appeared under Jiraiya and delivered a hard kick on his chest that broke a rib, sending the Sannin into the air. All this happened in a second. The group observing only saw black blurs around a helpless Jiraiya. Guy knew that it must have been some sort of taijutsu even though he had never seen it before. Kakashi did not even have time to lift his forehead protector. Naruto appeared above Jiraiya in air. His right leg moved in speeds that not even the Sharingan could track. His kicks formed air pressures that were enhanced by his manipulation of wind. The air pressures shot towards Jiraiya upon being released. They hit Jiraiya painfully and sent him crashing towards the ground. Naruto flashed through hand seals before raising his right hand, wind hammer. His right hand moved downwards like it was controlling some invincible force. Just then, something heavy hit Jiraiya on the ground. This caused a crater to form where Jiraiya had fallen. The Sannin gave a low growl as he felt like the Hokage tower was thrown at him. Naruto landed on the ground gracefully before turning away from Jiraiya. He walked towards the group who were observing. They noticed the slightly bored and annoyed look on his face. Did Naruto just defeat a Sannin without a scratch? Ino asked in disbelief. No, surprisingly, the answer came from Naruto himself as the girl spoke loud enough for him to hear. He should be waking up soon, he said, but you held back on the attack that sent him crashing. Down Guy pointed out what the others did not see. You noticed, Naruto said. It was not a question. Where are you going, Naruto? It will take more than that to defeat me, Jiraiya exclaimed, standing up. His body was bruised from head to toe, but mostly from waist to shoulders. His mouth was leaking off some blood. He did not look to be in great deal of pain, but he had a few broken ribs, caused by Naruto's last jutsu. Naruto narrowed his eyes back at Jiraiya. His eyes locked with Jiraiya's for a moment. He then looked away and continued walking. The group's focus turned to Jiraiya as the perverted Sannin started to let loose a few perverted giggles. His nose started to leak of some blood, and his eyes got a dreamy look in them. A second later, a heavy nosebleed and Jiraiya was out cold. When Naruto heard Jiraiya's fall, he spoke. I did not answer your question clearly, he said, looking at Ino. The others sweet-tripped at his actions, lack of rather. He had completely disregarded Jiraiya. Jiraiya was not fighting me seriously. He was at most using 25% of his power. When he stood up from my last attack, it was then that he wanted to become serious. But I had already gotten bored in waiting for him to become serious, he explained, earning a nod from Ino and some, though not all understood his words. So Hokage-sama, can I have my cloak back? Tsunade threw the cloak at Naruto, who caught it. She then stalked off to an unconscious Jiraiya, drawing the others' attention. One would think that she was about to heal him, but wake up, your pervert, she yelled, punching the perverted Sannin on his chest. Jiraiya came to quickly and backed away from Tsunade despite being in heavy pain. What the hell happened? You were supposed to fight him so I could see what he has learned, and you could not become serious. Wait, Jiraiya said, holding up both his hands in defense. He used my weakness against me, and I could have still fought after his last attack. Why did you not fight seriously at the beginning? Well, Naruto was not completely serious either, he said, defending himself. He was holding back even with that last attack. He did not even draw out his sword, he explained, but that did not save him from Tsunade. She punched him on his face while he was not expecting it. The punch sent him flying away. When he crashed to the ground, he was already unconscious. Naruto, she called to the blonde. Come and see me in my office later on, she said, and disappeared in a puff of smoke. What was that last move, Guy asked Naruto, beating everything from saying anything. Uzumaki dance. I created it, Naruto replied to the green Jounin. Seeing that Guy wanted more, he spoke again. It's a taijutsu technique. To be executed the way I did, it requires speed and wind manipulation. That was most youthful, Naruto-kun. You should teach me that technique, Lee exclaimed, taking over from his sensei. Lee, I did say that it requires wind manipulation. It took a few moments to fully understand what Naruto meant, and when he did, he gave the only response he could. Oh, so when did your return, Naruto? Shikamaru asked, trying not to at least sound bored. 2 days ago, Naruto responded, calmly looking at the group. He had not noticed it before. Akamaru had now grown quite big since he was last a dog. Chaoji, Kiba, Niji, Shino, Tenten, Lee, Shikamaru, Hinata. How are you guys? Naruto asked, getting back to the skip greetings. The people Naruto called smiled while others nodded. Hinata smiled slightly and looked away. An eyebrow rose from Naruto seeing the girl look away from him. She still does that. I thought she would have gained some confidence by now, he thought to himself. Hey, what about me? Don't you want to know how I am doing? Ino somewhat yelled at the blonde. Ino, I have already seen you in Sakura before, Naruto spoke, looking at the girl. Ino just huffed, crossing her hands on her chest. Hey guys, why don't we all go out today? And it has been long time since we all gathered, Sakura suggested happily. But she became saddened a bit. She realized they would not all be gathered since Sasuke would not come. She had only seen him once or twice in the past 6 months, and all times, he seemed to shrug her off. That's a good idea, Sakura. We can meet at the BBQ restaurant at 8, Chaoji said, happily thinking of the food he would eat with everyone else. This is troublesome, Shikamaru said with a yawn. I will see you tonight then, he said, walking away, not before sending a last glance at Naruto. The others waved at Naruto goodbye. Hinata looked to have something to say, but she quickly hurried away as soon as she locked her eyes with Naruto, making the blonde sigh and shake his head. He noticed that Sakura was still waiting. Hey Naruto, do you want to get some ramen? She asked with a small smile. If Naruto was surprised he hit it too well, some other time Sakura he politely turned her down. Sakura then noticed the lack of Dash-chan when Naruto called her. She had missed it yesterday when Naruto called her name. Oh, she said, her smiling dropping. Some other time then, she said, walking away. Naruto turned to the Jounins who had been conversing amongst themselves to give his friends some time to say hello. He looked at where Jiraiya had fallen after being punched by Tsunade. He did not see the pervert anywhere. He figured he must have went away. Yo, Kakashi called, snapping Naruto out of his thoughts. Kakashi, Naruto said, looking straight at the Jounin. He still had his orange precious on his hand. I see you are still the same, he said. Kakashi merely shrugged his shoulders nonchalantly in response. It said it all about the man. He did not care if he changed or not. He was who he was. You have gotten stronger, he commented. And it took you 3 days to say that, Naruto said, knowing that the copy Nin had known he had returned. The man had watched him for the past days. Once was yesterday while he was at the ramen stand. Kakashi smiled and scratched the back of his head. Mama, Naruto, I was giving you some time to familiarize yourself with the village, he gave another lame excuse. Naruto did not bother to respond. He looked at Asuma, who was about to say something. Kurenai, he is going to be a lady killer, don't you think? The Genjutsu mistress felt at a loss of words on the question. A few moments later, she nodded. He was indeed a handsome young man. She looked at him carefully and only thought with a nod, indeed. Guy, being the only serious Jounin, spoke next. Naruto, you should come and train with me and Lee sometimes, he said. After seeing Naruto's Taijutsu, he wanted to train with Naruto. He also saw that Naruto Taijutsu was good, despite seeing it for a few minutes. Lee would surely learn something. So will Naruto. Sure, Naruto agreed with a small smile. This caused the other 3 Jounin to look at him as if he was crazy. Kakashi got over it quickly. Why don't you join us at the Jounin's lounge tonight, Naruto? Now that was a surprise. Yes, it is no doubt that Tsunade-sama will make her a Jounin. Jiraiya-sama might not have been fighting seriously, but you cannot deny that he is skilled. I have other plans tonight. Next time perhaps, Naruto stated. Ja-ni, he said, and disappeared into nothingness. He sure has changed a lot, Kurenai commented after Naruto left, earning a nod from her fellow Jounin. What do you think knocked out Jiraiya-sama? It was Genjutsu, Kurenai said. Naruto must have shown him something perverted. You did see how happy he seemed. Kakashi remembered Naruto's infamous Orochi no Jutsu. I wonder what he showed him, Kakashi thought aloud. Afternoon. Hokage office, you wish to see me, Hokage-sama, Naruto reported after having an Anbu at his home report to him that he was wanted by the Hokage. I thought I told you to come and see the goddamn Hokage stated, looking straight at Naruto. You did, but did not specify at what time, Naruto responded coolly, leaving the Hokage to glare at him before sighing. Can you at least tell me what else you trained in? I did not see you anything that satisfied me. Naruto sighed. Well, it would not hurt to tell her something, but not everything. I learned Fuinjutsu, Kenjutsu, Ninjutsu, Chinjutsu, and also Taijutsu. He paused for a moment. With Ninjutsu I learned Winjutsu. My Fuinjutsu is good. I am better than Jiraiya with that regard. My Kenjutsu and Taijutsu are both good. I would say Jounin level. Ninjutsu is Cage level. Tsunade stared, then blinked. Is that all true? Naruto said nothing. He merely looked at her blankly. The goddamn Hokage rubbed her temples. You know, with what I saw today, I cannot possibly say that you are Jounin level. However, I will take Jiraiya's word for it. He said you deserve the rank. Guy, Kurenai, Asuma, and Kakashi all agreed. She paused, smiling. So congratulations, Naruto. You have now become a Jounin. I am sure that the council will be knocking at my door when they find out about this, but I will handle them. Naruto nodded. Tsunade threw him his Jounin vest. Before you leave, Naruto, we have never gotten a chance to be alone since you returned, Tsunade said, getting up from her chair. She walked towards Naruto and engulfed him in a warm hug. Naruto was a little surprised by her action. Nonetheless, he wrapped his hands embracing her. I missed you, Naruto. When Jiraiya told me that you had run away, I became scared. I did not want to think of something bad happening to you, because I did not want to lose you too, she said, a soft tone. I don't know what I would do if something happened to you. I have lost much in my life. I don't want to lose you too. Naruto smiled warmly, embracing the goddamn. I missed you too, but I did what I did for the better. It was not my intention to worry you. I wanted to become strong for my sake, for the sake my cause, and so that I could not feel powerless when those I value are in danger. He paused for a moment. But do not worry. I will never leave without telling you. Promise me, Naruto, Tsunade said, breaking the embrace as she looked at Naruto's eyes. Naruto leaned closer to the Hokage and placed a kiss on her forehead before smiling genially at her. I promise, he said, letting her go before disappearing. That night the night had still been young when Naruto actually got bored, but he could not leave his friends. Just for this once he would endure their topics. The group lacked intellectual conversations. It was not wrong to talk about something else that is amusing and doing things for amusement. There was nothing wrong with that. He just preferred conversations that were of good use than for amusement. The night had begun pleasantly well. Naruto was sitting between Hinata and Neji. Everyone in the Konoha 12 had come, all except for Sasuke. The guys no longer considered him as one of them. That was why they had decided to call themselves the Konoha 11. Ino and Sakura were the only ones who seemed to object to that decision. But then again, their thoughts did not seem to matter to the group. They had been Sasuke's fans since from the beginning. It was not surprising that they would object to the thought. Naruto was surprised to find that the main reason the group had decided to remove Sasuke as one of them was because of what Sasuke had done to him. But it did not matter to him since that Sasuke who did it was dead. The Sasuke that existed now was Itachi's brother. The one that died was his friend and brother. Another reason was that not everyone actually liked that spoiled Uchiha. No, that's coloring it. None of the guys liked the Uchiha, they disliked his ass. Because Hinata had been seated close to him, she had a red face most of the night and had passed out once. Naruto had been surprised that she could stay that close to him and only lose her consciousness once. That had been an improvement from her past record. Naruto was mostly asked about his training trip. Everyone was interested in what he had been doing for the past 3 years. They had all looked at him waiting for answers. He was able to give the answers they wanted to hear, but he was sure to leave out important details. He had told them some things about how hard he trained. Lee had been happy about that part upon hearing about his training methods. While he did tell them minor details about his training, he never told them where and who he was with. Shikamaru had been surprised at the fact that Naruto did not reveal that little detail. Well, not entirely surprised. He was the one who did notice that Naruto never said anything about where he was. His other friends were interested in how strong the blonde had become and his change. The last part was nothing new to him though. He was very much aware that Naruto was not stupid. The first hour at the BBQ restaurant was the only good part of the meeting reunion. Neji happened to have been the only one who made Jounin in the group. The rest were Chunin. Well, that changed when Naruto became a Jounin, but that did not change the fact that he had become Jounin faster than anyone in their group. Sasuke was not counted as he was no longer a part of the group. Neji was a Hyuga prodigy that was expected. It was no surprise to Naruto either. Despite his previous mentality, no one could deny that Neji was skilled. He stood high above the other Genins. That was what he had become before Naruto came back. He was high above the others. It was not only about his skills, it was also about the way he conducted himself. He was respectable, calm, a bit cold, but he had the mentality of a Jounin and was a lot more mature than the rest of the group. But now that Naruto had come and was a lot mature than he had been in his Genin days, he was matured in the same league as Neji. Perhaps Naruto understood the shinobi world better than Neji did. Naruto had been made to watch the horrors of war by Itachi. The Uchiha had placed him in a Genjutsu and made him see what he saw in his young age during the Third Shinobi World War. He had said it was good for his education and also would help him understand what the world a bit better. And then Naruto became bored. A few noticed that he was bored. The subject was just random stuff that Naruto was not the least interested in. Perhaps he could be called rude, but he could not pretend to be interested in the subject of conversation. He was past that time where he pretended many things. It was then that the topic was changed, the Genin days. Those days of a loudmouth idiot blonde. That had made many laugh recalling the memories. That was a bit not boring, but still not the kind of conversation Naruto would have liked to have. Well, at least it did manage to put a smile on his face. Still, he thought he had overgrown the kind of meetings. Perhaps it was what he should have been doing because of his age. He should be enjoying his life while he has the chance. That if he was someone else. He was Namikaze Naruto, a born protector and hero of Konoha. From the day he was born, his life had been changed. He was beyond normal. Perhaps at times he would shower himself with some form of entertainment, but his joy came from seeing those he cares for smiling. Happy. That is what would make him proud and happy. Surely anyone would be happy knowing that they have succeeded in protecting what is close to their hearts. Neji, come to my house when you are free, Naruto said, walking out of the restaurant. The night had already grown old, so it was time for home. Tenten had been the first to leave with Lee. Her reason was that she did not want Lee to drink something he should not. If they had stayed any longer, he would have surely drank something and do something disastrous. The others glanced at Naruto curiously. Neji just nodded stoically before walking away with Hinata. The latter seemed not to want to leave, but he insisted that they leave because it was already late. Her father would be displeased if they went back home too late. Hinata sadly agreed and walked home with her cousin. So Naruto, when did you become friends with Neji? That was a question by Shikamaru. Naruto never seemed to get well with Neji, so he was curious as to why Naruto would want Neji to be at his house. He could have just put his mind to work, but that would be troublesome. Hence his question. You have a good mind, put it to use, Naruto replied, not answering Shikamaru's question. This left Shikamaru with a sigh. Well, it was good seeing the real you, the Nara heir said with a small smile. I will see you around, Naruto, he said with a hand wave, walking away. Bye, Naruto, Choji said, following Shikamaru from behind. Naruto nodded at him before disappearing also. And that's the end of this episode. The series will continue in the next part, so be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share, and comment down below. Thanks for watching, we'll be seeing you in the next part.